Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jessie from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by Matt Turner. Matt Turner, what a week of wrestling it has been.
Have been, my friend, and I don't like to start off this episode or any episode on a negative note. However, Mr. Rob Goodwin and friends and family of the Stardom Cast, it is, I think we basically kind of almost have to show honor and love and respect for the brothers and sisters of this great wrestling sport that have left this best of all possible worlds and has gone to the ring in the sky. Rob Goodwin, as you know, this past week, the great Kevin Sullivan had passed away. And Kevin Sullivan is somebody that cut his teeth into the Florida territory back in the 70s and 80s and was really the last disciple left of the late, great Eddie Graham. But where I know Kevin Sullivan best, my friend, was that run in WCW. When I first started watching WCW every week in 96 as the leader of the Dungeon of Doom, I got to tell you, my man, Kevin Sullivan and the Dungeon of Doom in that era of WCW, they really stood out because you'd have the Four Horsemen, and you knew what the Four Horsemen were going to do. You had the NWO, and you knew what the NWO was going to do. Then you kind of had like your cruiserweights, like your great, your Malenkos, Guerreros. You knew what they were going to do, but like whenever the Dungeon of Doom came on, you're like, these guys are up to no good, and it was really, really intriguing. So I just think we always do. We always pay respect to anybody that has passed on, like I said, gone to the great ring in the sky. But what are your memories of Kevin Sullivan, partner? I know that you're in the process of doing some stuff on the Monday Night Wars, but I just want to know what your thoughts on the late, great Kevin Sullivan are.
Yeah, it's very similar, to be perfectly honest. As I've said to you on multiple times, I've watched criminally little of, sort of Territories era, Jim Crockett Promotions sort of era, that late 80s, early 90s of WCW. So my only real exposure of Kevin Sullivan was perhaps not his finest hour in the Dungeon of Doom. I'm sure that they have their fans out there, definitely. But yeah, it's a very, very different time. Obviously, I know that he was in charge at varying times of the booking in WCW. I know that it was Sullivan who worked a lot with Hulk Hogan and things like that. But that was mainly my exposure of Kevin Sullivan, the Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan. So yeah, obviously our hearts go out to him, his family, his friends. I know that he hadn't been well for a while, had he?
No, I think the last handful of months he was in and out of the hospital. And again, I could have my facts wrong, but I believe he was at an autograph signing and he wasn't feeling good and he had to leave to go to the hospital. He was in there for a handful of days, came home, and I want to say maybe it was about 2 weeks later they had passed away. So, yeah, Kelvin Sullivan, just an absolute different heel. I mean, there's nobody else that can do what he did. He was great at it. And again, one of the great minds in wrestling. People don't realize that when they first brought Goldberg in and they wanted to give him that monster push, that it was Kevin Sullivan was in charge of all the wrestlers to be in the ring with Goldberg to make Goldberg look good. So that push would have never gotten off to the races as fast as it did if it wasn't for Kevin Sullivan hand-picking Bill Goldberg's opponents, in the first 3 or 4 months to make Bill look as dominant as he did. So Kevin Sullivan is really somebody who really thought outside the box, and again, one of the greatest minds in the history of wrestling.
Yeah, obviously, we wish his family, as I've already said, our prayers and our good thoughts, and obviously rest in peace, Kevin Sullivan. It's never good to see someone pass away, especially someone who hasn't been well for a long time. So yeah, hopefully he's found a little bit of peace. Moving on. Other than that, Mr. Turner, how on earth have you been?
I'm going. I'm great. I am fantastic. I just finished the last 2 Marigold shows, so we'll be ready to rock and roll and record that later this week. Those shows were great. Obviously, these 4 Stardom shows we're going to talk about are terrific. And as we're recording this, we are about 12 hours away, even less than that, from this loaded show at Cork and Hall that I'm sure we're going to be previewing. So hopefully nobody gets spoiled on it. But man, I'm excited. This 5-star has been terrific. Again, obviously we're going to talk about it quite a bit here. Couple little bumps in the road, but other than that, I mean, this 5-star is off to a great start. And Rob, we're all about giving our listeners listener retention on this show. So I'm going to give you, the listeners, some listener retention. As per usual, for the 3rd year in a row, my wife and myself have our picks each and every match, each and every show. So I will be going through, as we're reviewing all 4 of these shows, I'll be going through the statistics of these shows. Now, keep in mind, my wife, up until, I think, 3 days ago, has not watched a single Stardom match this year, start to finish. She did watch a couple of the matches with me from, I believe, the Monday show. So keep that in mind as I go through the leaderboard of who's leading here in the Turner household. But, brother, as always, I'm good, better than I deserve to be. How's things over on your end?
Yeah, not too bad. I am currently, as I sit talking to you, absolutely covered head to toe in blue paint. I was tasked when Kirsty left the house this morning with painting the fence. It was only when I reached the end of the tin that I realised we'd only bought enough paint for half the fence. So the bit that I've done looks fantastic. I imagine quite a lot of paint I've wasted on my hoodie, face and hands. But yeah, she's going to come back and be like, where's the rest of the fence? And I'll say, I'm sorry, I bought us too little paint. So it's going to stretch over the next 3 or 4 days, unfortunately. But yeah, apart from that, everything is good. Obviously, we are deeply entrenched in the 5-star season, which is one of my favorite, if not my favorite times of the Stardom calendar. And I cannot wait to talk about these 4 separate Stardom shows that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, night 1 from the Yokohama Budokan, night 2, and then the 2 shows from night 3 in Utsunomiya Maya Light Cube in Toshigi as well. Lots happening, as you've said, Matt. I think it's been a fantastic start to the tournament. There's a couple of things. Obviously, it hasn't been, completely perfect, but what is nowadays? And we'll be talking about that as well. Lots of discussion to be had. Lots of news as well. 3 fairly big bits of news as well from the world of Stardom and Marigold. But before we dive headlong into all of that, Mr. Turner, you know what time it is. What is coming up on our Patreon?
On the Patreon, good sir, we released our alternate commentary just the other day of Shuri taking on Hazuki from the 5-star Grand Prix back in 2023, and that was a hard-hitting, fun match. And coming up next week, our alternate commentary will be from the 5-star Grand Prix in 2022 as Hazuki takes on one Mayu Iwatani. For anybody new listening to the show, and we know we have new listeners all the time, hello, welcome, and thank you. This entire month, in the month of August, for the alternate commentary, is we're going to be doing matches based on the People's Champion, the wrestling machine, the wild heart herself, Hazuki. So that is what's on the Patreon and what's coming up. Oh, and then also coming up later on this week, probably by the time this drops sometime on Friday, it's myself and Andy Header. We did our tag team breakdown, where we break down the Artists of Stardom Championship match from Flashing Champions 2022 as the reigning champions, well, at that time, Mai Himipoi, Maika Himeka, and Natsupoi take on the challengers of Oedo Tai, Momo Watanabe, Starlight Kid, and Saki Kashima. So that'll be up on your Patreon feeds sometime on Friday. And I do want to apologize, folks, as Andy was having a little bit of a internet snafu. So there was a little bit of, sometimes he tagged out, sometimes he tagged back in. Regardless, we thought that was a super fun episode. And then probably right around this time next week, give or take a day or two, my roundtable discussion with Andy Header should be in your Patreon feeds. And it'll be Andy Header's top 5 favorite Stardom matches that he's seen so far. He's going to go through each match, and I'm going to kind of just dissect it and go through it a little. So that'll be a fun time. So yes, lots of fantastic stuff coming up on the Patreon feed for the month of August. And I have mentioned a time or two that our What If episode for the month of August is scheduled to be what if myself and Allison Danger were to book our own territory. With every single wrestler is a free agent and we have unlimited money. I'm hoping to have that up by the end of this month. I actually just talked to Allison last night. She's in the process of getting ready to go to Cauliflower Alley Club in, I believe it's Las Vegas, where she's going to be honored for her contributions of women wrestling. So I talked to her last night, and she said that she has not done any of the prep work for her presentation that she's supposed to be doing, because she's supposed to be doing a history on women's pro wrestling. And she said that the stuff that she does have is majority of Rob's stuff that he has in his first 2 Stardom books, which is Living the Dream and, of course, Chasing the Dream. So she did basically say, hey, I have a QR code here. I'm going to try to make sure I give you guys as much credit as possible. So it's going to be interesting to see what eyes in the Cauliflower Alley Club that weekend are going to be looking at some Rob Goodwin book stuff and some Stardom cast stuff, considering you have like Jim Ross, Sting, just to name a few people, will be in the same building as Allison gives her presentation. So when she told me that, it reminded me very much like my senior year in college, where I would wait till the very last minute to do a 20-page paper. So, but yeah, I'm hopefully we can have that up by the month of August, but if it bleeds into September, you'll know why. And I wanted to make sure that when I have Allison on, I wanted to have it after her appearance in the Cauliflower Alley Club, because you know that she will be giving us a whole bunch of stories. So there'll be a little bonus extra content on that episode. So super excited for that. And, Allison, I know that you're listening, and, congratulations on all your success and safe travels over there to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone that deserves it more than Allison. She's done so much for women's wrestling. I believe Alundra Blaze is also there as well. So as though it isn't a big enough thing, and you showed me the poster for it as well, and Jesus wept. That it's like a who's who of wrestling royalty. It really is. So to have Allison talking about my book in general is an honor, but to have her doing that in a place where Jim Ross and Sting and Alundra Blaze and I believe Kurt Angle as well. It's quite
Kurt Angle, Lex Luger, Buff Bagwell, Jimmy Hart. I love Jimmy Hart. Such a nice guy. JBL, I'm looking at the cast of characters here, the Dudleys. I'm pretty sure that her and Alundra Blaze, Medusa, they're actually putting the presentation together. So yes, no pressure on you, Rob, on the books that you've already written, sent out. They've gotten great reviews, but a WWE Hall of Famer and Japanese Joshi legend Medusa, Alundra Blaze, will be looking all at your work if she hasn't yet, my man. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to get more praise.
It would be nice, definitely. What I am hoping doesn't happen is Alundra Blaze takes one look at it and goes, that's all wrong. That's completely wrong. That's what we don't want. So fingers crossed. Again, just a brief shout out to every single one of our fantastic patrons. Again, your support is absolutely tremendous, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. So let's delve into some news. And yesterday, Sari continues her low-key pledge to become what can only be described as Booker of the Year. After giving us Natsupoi and Sari versus Azumi and Takumi Iroha for Sariism Chapter 4, she seemed to take that as a personal challenge to try and beat that for Chapter 5. The main event and the rest of the card actually was announced yesterday via an Instagram video where Sari will be teaming in a special dream tag match with Mayu Iwatani. Yes, after their fantastic IWGP Women's Championship match at the All-Star Grand Queendom show back in April, Sari will be teaming with the icon of Stardom, Mayu Iwatani, against Chihiro Hashimoto and Veni. I mean, just for that match alone, it is an absolute steal, that pay-per-view, as was Chapter 4, if I'm being perfectly honest. The show is going to be from Shinjuku Face, as was the last show in Tokyo, Monday the 2nd of September 2024. The rest of the card is as follows. Tomoka Inaba and Sia, Jaguar Yokota and Megumi Yabashita versus Chichi and Zones. Mia Momono, Jesus, easy for me to say, will be in action in a singles action, but that opponent is yet to be announced. Kaori Ito will be in a three-way against Karumi Hiragi and not you, Matt Turner, though I would pay money to see that. And then, of course, that aforementioned main event, Sari and Mayu Iwatani versus Chihiro Hashimoto and Veni. What a match that is going to be, Matt. Like, no airs and graces. That is going to be absolutely sensational. The first time that Mayu and Sari have ever teamed together. Chihiro Hashimoto can't put a full foot wrong in my eyes. I think she's absolutely tremendous. And Veni, one of the hottest freelancers out there, someone I would love to see full-time on a Stardom or indeed a Marigold. But yes, that match itself is worth the price of admission.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, my friend. And I think it's safe to say that we'll be covering that match for the Stardom cast. Would that be, or the Marigold standard? I'm assuming that'd be a pretty safe bet, huh, partner?
Maybe we need to do it on both. Just record it and put it on both. For those of our listeners that listen to one or the other, maybe we should put it on both.
Yeah, I'm down for that. But literally, in my opinion, the two best wrestlers in the world, not named Danielson and Ospreay, teaming together to take on a very underrated Veni. And you just made mention a minute ago, partner, one of the hottest freelancers in all of wrestling. I mean, she's absolutely crushing on all the shows that I've seen her on. And Chihiro Hashimoto, who is just an absolute beast. She's just terrific. And the fact that we're going to be seeing Chihiro Hashimoto throwing Mayu around. We know how great of a seller Mayu is and how great of how impactful of an offensive wrestler Chihiro Hashimoto is. So that's going to be really, really interesting. But again, it's really cool to see that you literally have your Marigold champion, your red belt champion in Sari, where just a few weeks ago she teamed up with Natsupoi to take on Azumi on the other side, and obviously Takumi Iroha works for Marvelous. And now you have your IWGP Joshi champion, one of the greatest wrestlers to ever do it, still very much in her prime, and Mayu teaming with Sari on this show. Again, that's really cool. It's really cool that we're kind of, lowering the wall. We're lowering the borders to let these other wrestlers from other promotions either team together or have matches, because, and I say this almost every week, at the end of the day, it's the fans, it's us, we're the ones that benefit from it, because there's dream matches happening. There is. I mean, and I say it all the time, back in my major fandom, how awesome would it be to see, like, Goldberg take on Austin? And I know it wouldn't have been a 5-star match, but, like, those two are the two hottest wrestlers at the time. Or, The Rock going up against Eddie Guerrero, something like that. Or even if you look at All Japan, New Japan, just think if Shinjiro Hashimoto wrestled Mitsuharu Misawa, like, that would be an absolute dream. Or Bret Hart versus Kawada. I mean, literally, that's kind of versions that we're getting, with everybody kind of closing their borders and, saying, yeah, you can have this person come over for a shot, let them team up, let them do this or that. I mean, again, at the end of the day, it's the fans, it's us that are able to benefit from the most. But that was just, when I opened up my Twitter, I think it was Monday morning, I saw Mayu and Sari together. I was like, holy geez, like, Sari is trying to be like Booker of the Year, considering the fact that she's only ran 3 or 4 shows, but she's really putting together some awesome matches, and she's writing her own ticket. It's going to be really hard for whatever wrestling company that wants to sign her. In my opinion, would be every wrestling company, because she's so good, to actually sign her, because she's obviously making money, but at the same time, she's doing what she wants to do. Like, I don't want to be tied down to one company. I want to be able to do my own thing and wrestle with Azumi, wrestle with Natsupoi, wrestle with Takumi Iroha, wrestle with Kairi, which we saw her do last year. So, I mean, good on her. Really, really good on her, because she's been able to wrestle whoever she wants, whenever she wants. And every time that she does it, it's a match that everybody talks about.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, it's going to be one of those matches that is talked about simply because of the crossover, but also because you've got two of the best wrestlers in the world, not just in Japan, not just female wrestlers, the two best wrestlers in the world, as you mentioned, in the same conversation as Danielson and Ospreay. As well as that, just look at Sari's resume recently. Teamed with Mayu, teamed with Natsupoi, and teamed with Julia. That's a fair resume. over the past month or so. I think she's doing quite well. Is sorry, even if she has got a broken wrist, and hopefully that is healed. Obviously, at that point, she is announced for the Dreamstar Grand Prix, and that will have started by then. Of course, that starts on the 31st of August. Sticking with Marigold then, and there is more Marigold involvement with Pro Wrestling Noah. As we know, from the 3rd of May this year, there was a Marigold match announced where there was an exhibition at the Wrestle Magic pay-per-view in Ryogoku. On that night, Julia, Utami Hayashishita, Mirai, and Mei Seira were victorious against a Noah team comprising Takumi Iroha, the Great Sequoia, Nagisa Nozaki, and Miyuki Takase. When it comes to September 1st, which will be the finals of Noah's annual round-robin tournament, the N1 Victory. That's going to be in Edion Arena, Osaka. It was announced that we will have another Marigold exhibition 8-woman tag. This time, the team of Koki Amare, the United National Champion Miko Aono, Bozilla, and Kazuna Tanaka will be taking on the team of Miyuki Takase, Sandra Moon, who will be making her Pro Wrestling Noah debut, the Great Sequoia, and Takumi Iroha as well. It is worth noting as well that even though this is airing on Wrestle Universe, it will air for free worldwide on the 1st of September as a thank you for reaching 18,000 fans on Twitter. Just a rundown of the rest of the card. You've got that aforementioned 8-woman tag. We've also got the GHC Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships on the line with Eita and Shuji Kondo, the champions, against Yohei and Hayata. The GHC Tag Team Championships are also on the line with Naomichi Marufuji and Takashi Sugiura versus Mohamed Yone and Akitoshi Saito. And then the GHC Junior Heavyweight Championship match with Amakusa defending the belt against Dagger, and then of course the N1 Victory finals, which of course we don't know because the tournament is still going on. Another really good spot, of course, Matt, for Marigold, but you look at some of the people who they've selected, and I think of all the people in that team, Kazuna Tanaka is the one I'm most happy for.
Yeah, she's getting a big run right off the bat, and she's had some really good shows these last few shows. And again, when we record later on this week, the Marigold Standard, she looked really, really good, especially in that match with Bozilla. Again, we'll get into that when we record later in the week. But yeah, good for her. But for me, my man, Takumi Iroha versus Miko Ano, that is what I'm looking forward to the most. That is going to be absolutely sensational, and a really good spot for Koki Amare as well. She's burst onto the scene like a supernova, and she's getting this really big spot on what's going to be one of Pro Wrestling Noah's biggest shows and highest drawing shows. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Obviously, that's a match that we will watch and we'll be covering for the Marigold Standard.
Yeah, I think she is certainly someone that Marigold can see sort of as very marketable. Understandably, Koki Amare, of course, I've said that Miko Ano will be the United National Champion. Not if Koki Amare defeats her in Corrigan Hall on Monday, but assuming that Miko Ano retains, Koki Amare is, judging by the push and the exposure that she has been given from Marigold, it does seem that she's someone who is being highlighted as a very, very, very obvious potential new star in the company. And I think rightly so. She's got the look, she's got the charisma, she's got the aura, and progressively, the more shows we see, the better she is getting in rings. So very, very close to becoming something close to the total package, which I'm very happy to see because I'm a big fan of Koki Amare. Again, that will be airing on Wrestle Universe from the 1st of September.
Maybe she'll start using the torture rack as a finisher since you just called it the total package.
Well, absolutely. If she comes to the ring next week at Corrigan with the Lex Flexor, we know that she listens to this podcast. Sticking with Marigold, the Dreamstar Grand Prix, their round-robin tournament. It'll be the first year this runs, of course, with Marigold still in their inaugural year. There was a lot of spaces in this field for the tournament. 16 spots announced. 12 spots were filled already. There have been 3 qualifiers with Chika Goto, with Kazuna Tanaka and with Victoria Yuzuki. Couldn't remember the third. Victoria Yuzuki all qualifying through qualification matches. However, underneath that, there was one spot that was reserved for someone from another promotion. And we speculated, Matt, on this podcast and on the Marigold Standard, we've seen the relationship between WWE and Marigold bringing Io Sky, which was obviously a huge, huge get. We didn't think it would necessarily be a WWE star. We thought it could be someone from NXT. That was where we went to originally, someone like a Sol Ruaka, for example, or even a Kalani Jordan, who I know is a champion then. That would have been a long shot, but even so. However, it was announced via Marigold's Twitter that Rossi Ogawa paid a visit to the LLPWX dojo to invite Nori to participate in the Dreamstar Grand Prix 2024. Nori, of course, had a really, really, really good showing at Summer Destiny alongside Shinobu Kandori and Takako Inoue as well. There is a really entertaining video, if you search it on Twitter, of Rossi going and asking Shinobu Kandori and Takako Inoue basically for their permission to invite Nori to take part in the tournament, and they accuse him of talent poaching, which I think when you consider all the baseless allegations at the start of Marigold, or what were gleaned to be, or proven to be, baseless allegations at the start of Marigold's tenure. I think this was quite funny. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but there was photos published by Tokyo Sports of Rossi Ogawa holding his hand out for Shinobu Kandori or Nori to shake it. Neither of them do, and the photo is just of a very sad hat man with his hand outstretched and no one shaking it. Genuinely, properly made me laugh, Matt.
Yeah, I like how he had asked permission, like, for Nori to come. It's like trying to I have to ask somebody's dad's permission to date their daughter. That's what it is. It's like, can I ask permission, Mr. Joshi Wrestling Shinobu Kandori, for Nori to be a part of the Dreamstar Grand Prix? This is a great shout, and this is something that you even speculated. It's, boy, I would love to see Nori in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. So kudos to you, sir. You got this one right. Kudos to you, and this is a really, really good pickup for them because, again, you're going to have that LLPW crossover. Maybe you'll see Shinobu Kandori, maybe even second Nori on some of these shows. I think that'd be really, really cool just to have her presence in the building for some of these shows. I think that'd be really cool. I liked how they kind of made something of it, like the fact that it wasn't like they just didn't announce it, that Rossi had to go and ask Kandori for permission. So they made something cool on social media for it. Just kind of adds to the coolness that is the Red Hot Marigold. I only saw that one match from Nori from Summer Destiny, and I made mention we did our review. She completely blew me away. With everybody that was in that match, she's the only one that I never seen or heard of before, and she was the clear MVP of that match. So I'm excited to see what she's going to be able to do, depending on what bracket she's in once the brackets get announced. But love to see her with the Nutami, with the Mirai, with the Miko Ano, with the Chiko Goto, with the Natsumi Shozuki. I mean, the possibilities are endless of what she can do in this tournament. So I'm super excited for it. I think this is a great shot from Rossi to do that. And it's really cool to see the fact that he's going to have it looks like maybe somewhat of a working relationship with two Joshi legends in Inoue and Kandori. So that's really cool as well.
Now, it is worth pointing out that I don't think this has been officially official, if you like. I don't think there has been an official announcement saying Nori will be a part of the field, but I think it's highly predicted that obviously this is going to sort of lead to it. With the Arrivederci Last Julia show on Monday the 19th at Korakuen Hall, I anticipate that there will be announcements regarding the Dreamstar Grand Prix and therefore probably confirmation of Nori's participation as well, because Korakuen Hall seems to be the place where Marigold do a lot of their announcements. They, of course, announced Io Sky. They announced Summer Destiny, their first foray into Ryogoku. So I imagine that we will get some sort of announcement there as well. And we might as well keep with tournaments, Matt Turner, because we have got 4 nights of the 5-star Grand Prix to talk about. overall, before we get into the individual nights, the individual blocks, performances, how things have been scheduled, the slew of draws that we didn't have last year but have been sort of brought back with a vengeance in this year's tournament, what are your overall feelings about where we sit with 4 shows under our belts?
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And again, obviously, we're going to get knee deep into this, but just asking at the top of my head. First of all, I'm the worst person to ask about anything that I love.
You are, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, how was that Marvel movie? A+. Of course it is an A+. You know, that's I like talking about things that I love. If you're asking me to rate this is so far an A+. It's not perfect by any means, and we're going to get into it, but I'm loving these matches. Night 1, I made mention of this on social media, as far as what I love most about pro wrestling, and I love it all. I love the characters. I love the gimmicks. I love the promos. I love the fancy storylines. What I love most in wrestling is bell to bell, is the actual wrestling. And this night 1, for all the wrestling that I watch, and I watch a lot of Raw, a lot of SmackDown, I watch everything AEW. I've been watching a lot of New Japan. The G1's been really, really good this year. Obviously, I watch all Marigold and Stardom. This is the show, night 1, from the Yokohama Budokan on the 10th of August. From start to finish, this was my favorite wrestling show of the year, because there's no crazy storylines, there's no crazy this or that, which again is fine. It was just nothing but 4+ hours of fantastic wrestling. Just once we got, like, the first few matches were good, but it was like they were short on time, and you understood why. There's 14 matches on the show. I wouldn't have minded if it was 6 hours, to be honest with you. Because I love it. I love it. But once we got to like Suzu and Hanan, it just built and built. I mean, you were texting during the show like, that's my favorite match. Oh, that's my favorite match. How's that match going to be top? No, that's my new favorite. No, this one's my new favorite. It just seemed like those last like 4 or 5 matches, they just kept building and building and building. And everybody I talked to, they all had different favorite matches from night 1. That just goes to show you how great this night 1 was. And then night 2 was just terrific. And then you had those back-to-back shows. It really seems like Azumi might be the front runner for the MVP, with maybe Iida, the breakout star. Again, we still have much more of this tournament to go, but like Iida was in 2 main events with 2 of the big cornerstones of Stardom in Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano, and she might have had her 2 best singles matches she's ever had, which is saying a lot, because Iida has been really doing a great job building up her resume. Suzuki, again, we'll get into it. I thought her match with Konami was fantastic up until we got into the stuff we knew we were going to get into. But overall, my man, I'm absolutely loving this 5-star Grand Prix, and I cannot wait to watch the show from Cork and Hall, because we have Suzuki versus Mei Seira, and in my opinion, the greatest rivalry in the history of the 5-star Grand Prix. Mayu Iwatani versus Momo Watanabe, plus Azumi and Tam Nakano. Can Tam get a win? You know, the booking's really interesting, because Momo Watanabe has 0 wins. Tam Nakano, not only does she have tournament thus far, she ate the L in the tag match with Tora, got tapped out, and then the week before the 5-star, Connor pinned her clean in the ring. So it's like, you're wondering what the booking is they're doing with Tam, because for someone that doesn't eat a lot of L's, she's losing quite a bit. And then Momo Watanabe, somebody who's booked very, very strong in this tournament, and somebody that's been booked very, very strong in this last 7 or 8 months, hence the fact that she's been in the main event scene for quite a while, and main event All-Star Grand Queendom. She just can't get a win, and she's not cheating. She's not. The only little bit of cheating came, and we'll get into it, is when Konami kicked Azumi, and that had nothing to do with Momo. So you're wondering if they're planting something, maybe to break one of the 84 members of H.A.T.E away. Maybe it's Momo Watanabe. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm enjoying the matches. The crowds have been really good. They look to be jam-packed. I'm absolutely loving the tournament thus far, my friend.
Let's get into it then. So we'll start with night 1, the opening night. And as I've said on the alternate commentary that we'll be releasing next week, the opening night of the 5-star Grand Prix is something of a staple in recent years for Stardom. And the quality of that opening night is always really, really high. And I think this was another example of that. Saturday, the 10th of August, 5-star Grand Prix opening round from the Yokohama Budokan, 1,587 people in attendance. It's a healthy number. It's down slightly from last year's opening round. However, it is the 3rd highest attendance they've pulled in at the Yokohama Budokan. They've ran it 15 times And it's the second highest 5-star Grand Prix attendance there for Stardom as well. So a healthy number, and they were a decent crowd as well, especially in comparison to the day crowd in Utsun and Maya, which we'll be talking about in a moment. Just run through all of the results for all 833 matches on this card. Starting with the 6-woman tag, the Stars team of Sai, Iida, Momokogo, and Koguma defeated the God's Eye team of Hina and Lady C, and Rian with Momokogo pinning Rian with the neck to peach in 8 minutes and 37 seconds. In the 6-woman tag team match, the H.A.T.E team of Nads, Katora, Tekla, and Rina, as well as Azusa Inaba, defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Kurora, and Aya Sakura, and Waka Tsukiyama, with Tekla submitting Sayaka Kurora with a flying armbar in 9 minutes and 37 seconds. Moving in to our tournament matches, and we instantly start with something of a surprise. We started in Blue Stars A with Anna Jay defeating Saori Anou with a roll-up in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. Red Stars A, it was H.A.T.E versus H.A.T.E. Konami defeated Ruaka with a running knee strike in 6 minutes and 26 seconds. Blue Stars A, you could argue again, this is another big shock. Miyu Amasaki defeating Xena with the Amana Hashidate. It's her roll-up, and I always sort of hype myself up ready for it. Whenever she pins someone with it, I'm always like, oh, I'm going to have to say it on the podcast now. And I always hype myself up, and I sort of do a couple in my head, and like, yeah, I've got this. And then it comes out of my mouth, and it's like I've never spoken words before.
I just call it the laid capture O'Connor roll with the Backlund Bridge. That's what I call it. That's what I have in my notes.
Even though that is more words, I think that's easier to say. Yeah, Amana Hashidate, which I believe is where she's from. 2 minutes and 15 seconds, the shortest match on this card. Ronnie Agami, the third shock out of 4 matches, I would say. Blue Stars B defeated Saki Kashima with the crucifix pin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Only her second singles victory of the year. We stay in Blue Stars B block. Hanan and Suzu Suzuki ending in a double count out in 8 minutes and 56 seconds. Red Stars A, Hazuki defeated Manami with the diving senton in 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Time limit draw next from Red Stars B block. Mei Seira and Tomoka Inaba in 15 minutes. All of these tournament matches, of course, having a 15-minute time limit. Blue Stars A saw Syuri defeat Starlight Kid with the Gembu in 11 minutes and 8 seconds. Azumi, who had a miserable singles record against Momo Watanabe, had beaten her just once in 10 matches, 8-1-1 record, finally got a significant singles victory over Momo with the Azumi Sushi in 11 minutes and 24 seconds. Blue Stars B block, Saya Kamatani, the Phoenix Queen, defeated Risa Seira with the Frankensteiner in 10 minutes and 48 seconds. Semi-main event, Red Stars A, Maika defeated Natsupoi with a roll-up of all things in 13 minutes and 11 seconds. And then in your main event, Mayu Iwatani, Red Stars B leader, defeated Tam Nakano with the two-step dragon suplex in 13 minutes and 45 seconds. Let's pick apart these matches then first, Matt. Obviously, we had a free-to-YouTube match, which, of course, turned into 2 matches. What did you think about this opening tag? Stars versus God's Eye and Rian, sorry.
For how long the show, and I get you want to get everybody on the card, I don't think you needed all this. I mean, it was good. Don't get me wrong. It's nice seeing Momokogo get a win here. I think it was important for Tora to be on this show, so it's really, she comes out with the World of Stardom Championship. So I thought, and Azusa Inaba was on the show. But I thought these were just matches just to kind of just warm everything up. Did you really need this with all the tournament matches? Not really, but it's nice getting everybody out in the crowd. Rian, again, I mean, regardless of how much time she has, she's somebody only wrestling a few months. I'm really, really impressed with her. Hina is looking terrific. Lady C's just absolutely crushing it. But yeah, it was nice seeing Momokogo get a win here, my man. And then as far as the next match goes, you basically just have the Cosmic Angels taking on the Uedo-Tai team, where it's just basically kind of a showcase for Tekla here to get a win and basically just showing like, hey, I'm going to be somebody that's going to be a main player, in the 5-star Grand Prix. all in all, you get these first two matches done in under 19 minutes, so nothing really huge there. But they were fun matches. Everybody worked hard.
Yeah, it wasn't until that evening I watched this show live. It wasn't until the evening that I actually realised that the Stars versus God's Iron Rian match had actually happened. So I had to go back and quickly watch that. The H.A.T.E match was there simply to build some heat behind H.A.T.E. It was always good to see Azusa Inaba, of course, who subbed in for Fukigen Death, who is out for up to a year, as we reported last episode, with a torn ACL. I thought Sayaka Kurora looked very, very good in this match. Again, some really good exchanges with Tekla. Two really close roll-up attempts as well. But, of course, she was the one submitted. And I did like the fact that post-match, Tekla just kept the hold in. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Disqualify me? The match is over. That was really good. Really enjoyed that. Looking ahead then, Blue Stars 8. Anna Jay defeating Saori Anou. Now, it is worth noting that this show was the 10th of August. It was in the evening, but Anna Jay didn't land in Japan until 4 a.m. that, very same morning. So think about the fact that she was jet-lagged. She was in a country she's never wrestled before, against a person she's never wrestled before, with a language barrier as well. And she's opening the main card as well. It's a lot of pressure. And I'm really, really happy to say that I think she took it all in her stride, because her two block matches, this one here against Saori and then the one against Starlight Kid in Toshigi on night 3, I think she did really, really well. They kept it quite simple, which I think was really, really, really beneficial. Lots of quick reversals in this match, and that played into the story of the finish, with the finish being a reversal, a roll-up, as Saori Anou goes for the pottering. Ultimately, I think this was a solid, successful debut for Anna Jay in Japan. More credit to her for doing it on jet lag and presumably very little sleep. Overall, I think she looked good here, got a good reaction from the Yokohama Budokan crowd, and Saori Anou did what we knew she would do. She made Anna Jay look like a real threat.
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they put Anna Jay's first two matches, this and the Starlight Kid match, free on their YouTube channel. Which, because if you look at the thumbnail, that's what's on there. Mm-hmm. Which, if that's what they're doing, that's smart, because you're trying to hook the AEW audience to watch these shows, to watch the YouTube video, to watch the the Stardom promotion that if you only watch AEW, you only know a little bit about because of Mina Shirakawa going over there, and then Azumi as well, and Tony Storm obviously talking about Stardom. So I think that's a smart move from Stardom to put, and again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm not, to put these two matches free on their YouTube channel to basically say, hey, if you want to watch more of Anna Jay and Starlight Kid and Saori Anou and this entire tournament, it's going to cost you less than $7 for the entire tournament plus the back catalog of on Stardom World. I think that's a smart move, and we mentioned this 2 or 3 times before, and I'm going to mention again. Smart move by Stardom. AEW would be nice maybe if you promoted it. Your wrestler is over here. Just promote it. You have Excalibur running 40,000 ads in between matches. Just say, hey, by the way, Anna Jay is over at our sister promotion, Stardom. She's in their annual 5-star Grand Prix. If you want to watch, their first 2 matches are free on their YouTube channel. And then, again, less than $7 gets you just 20, 30 seconds. Hey, where's that Anna Jay wrestler that I haven't seen her in a while? She's over in Japan. How can I watch it? It's free on YouTube. And if you like what you see, then you can, for the rest of the tournament, it's going to cost you just less than $7. Again, I just don't understand why they're not promoting this or even putting it on their social media. But regardless, I thought Anna Jay was terrific here. I thought the fact that this went 5.5 minutes and there was no rest, it was just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Great stuff. And Anna Jay, considering the fact that she's taller than Saori Anou, is able to use a quick reversal to stack up Saori Anou to get a surprise win. Not only did she have a great promo backstage after this match, but she had a really, really good one with Starlight Kid. And kudos to our friends over at the We Are Stardom Twitter page, getting a lot of these promos over with the English subtitles. Obviously, with Anna Jay, she's speaking English in these promos, but so we don't need subtitles. But you know what I mean, partner. But you can tell she's got a lot of passion. You can see it in her eyes that when she's cutting these promos, these are 2 different wrestlers she's never wrestled before in Saori Anou and Starlight Kid, because just of how extremely talented these 2 wrestlers are. And she's in a loaded block in a loaded tournament. So she's going to be wrestling a lot of talent that's completely different than what she's used to wrestling over in AEW. And again, this isn't with AEW. If you're wrestling on TV, what's AEW, WWE, Impact Wrestling, you're slowing your style down a little bit for the TV cameras. That's just the way that American wrestling works. With, again, she wrestled this match 5.5 minutes in absolute blistering pace, was able to keep up with Soriano hold for hold. Obviously, Soriano was the one that was really kind of putting the match together and did a great job. Again, I think this was terrific. This was a great showing for Anna Jay. I'm really excited to see what she does in the rest of this tournament. I actually had it at 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was a great match, a great way to start this tournament. And partner, you know from covering this tournament the last 3 years, there's always those upsets on night one. We saw back in 2021, Unagi defeated Wonder of Stardom champion at the time, Tam Nakano. In 2022, we did have Mina Shirakawa defeating Momo Watanabe before Mina got the huge push that she rightfully has earned. And then, in last year's tournament, we did see Natsupoi rolling up a red-hot Starlight Kid at the time, which is really, you mentioned it last week, had a miserable tournament as far as wins goes. Obviously, match quality, Starlight Kid can wrestle a broomstick, and it'll be a 4-star match. So we always see these upsets on night one or night two, and we got a couple of them right out the bat, my man. Needless to say, my predictions for the show against my wonderful wife wasn't good at all. It wasn't good at all, but that's the genius of the 5-star tournament. You never know when one of these matches are going to end. You bite on every near fall. And considering the fact majority of these Stardom wrestlers, they have a submission finish, they have a big bomb finish, and then you have some sort of a roll-up finish. You're biting on all these false finishes, and it just adds so much more to the match. But I thought this was a great showing for Anna Jay. And again, you can tell the passion and love she has for Japanese pro wrestling in these promos that she's doing afterwards. And I hope that she has a great rest of the tournament, and I hope that hopefully they bring her back for another tour or two, because I thought she's off to a really good start here.
Yeah, I think it was important that this was a good match for Anna Jay. And I think she succeeded. Yes, I think it's fair to say that Soriano probably led a lot of the match, but that's, it does take two to tango. And I think Anna Jay did very, very well. Everything she did seemed smooth. The transitions into the gory bomb, turning the tide with the dangerous J kick. Pardon me. I think, those reversals out of the Tom's Tundra, Tom's Tundra, or the Japanese Ocean Suplex. I think genuinely her skill level was really, really good here. And if she wrestles like that with jet lag, it's really exciting to see what she can do when she is at 100%. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a really solid opening and a really good way of getting Anna Jay those first 2 points, and a surprise victory as well. Because I think had she done it with an Impact finisher, people might have been questioning the result. 5 minutes and she's just beaten the 2-time Wonder of Stardom champion, really. However, with it being a roll-up, reversing that pottering, and that being the story of the match, both women constantly reversing their finishes, thought it worked really, really, really well. And this is your quintessential 5-star Grand Prix match. So much crammed into just 5.5 minutes of action. Really, really, really well done. H.A.T.E versus H.A.T E, Konami and Ruaka. Right, so I've got a positive and a bit of a negative in regards to both of these women's tournaments, and I'm going to start with a positive. Ruaka has surpassed all of my expectations in this tournament. I made it fairly clear that I thought how do I put this? That the replacement of your red belt champion with Ruaka was a mistake and didn't make a lick of logical sense whatsoever. Now, I do stand by that. I do stand by the fact that Tora should be in this tournament and that Ruaka shouldn't be the replacement even if Tora did step down, because she lost a qualification match. So if anything, it should be the runner-up of the qualification tournament. So it should be Lady C, if anything else. However, that aside, I think Ruaka in her match against Konami and her match is against Hazuki and Manami has shown a level of resilience and a level of determination that she hasn't shown in any of her prior singles matches. Yes, in this match, you sort of expected the shenanigans. And of course you got it as well. You got Konami with the spray paint, who someone needs to have a word with Konami about this spray paint, because it's not great for the environment, and she's just giving it all, spraying it everywhere. Can't be good for the environment.
Right.
Global warming, Konami, God's sake. Yeah, that's right. We tackle the hard issues on the Stardom cast. But I think Ruaka has done, if you look back at her 3 matches, aside from the chair bowling, which I believe it's Armani Shoe Exchange on Twitter who's coined that phrase, and it's absolutely perfect. Apart from that spot, which is happening in every single H.A.T.E match, and I'm going to get into that very shortly as well, I don't think she's cheated, really. She tried to cheat against Hazuki, but that makes sense because she wasn't able to beat Hazuki. She wasn't able to get a foothold in the match. She wanted to turn the tide. That makes sense. She felt she could beat Minami by wrestling, therefore didn't cheat. Should it have gone to the time limit? Probably not. I don't think Ruaka is quite capable of having a compelling 15-minute singles match yet. However, I am really impressed with Ruaka's output in this tournament so far. Hopefully that continues. I know that she is against, I believe, is it Yuna? No, Natsupoi she's got in Korakuen, hasn't she? So that's going to be another really, really good test of Ruaka and how well she can sort of adapt to that sort of style as well. It'll be really interesting to see how far that goes as well. Conversely, and I said this to you, Matt, I have never been less interested in Konami as a character. Now, I know that her character in God's Eye was relatively bland, but I think you could argue that God's Eye, probably since Mirai left, have been quite bland. With the exception of Saki Kashima, who, when she joined God's Eye, we praised that decision because it offered something a little bit different in our stoic, we fight hard group, which is what God's Eye are sort of packaged as. Giving her giving her sort of like a new direction as a member of God's Eye or rejoining God's Eye, I understand. Okay, yeah, she's sort of hit a plateau. Okay, fine. Go into a editor. I don't agree with the turn itself. I don't agree with the execution. I certainly don't agree with having taken the Goddess of Stardom belts off FWC to instigate this angle. All of that aside, I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt with the sole thing of not wanting Konami just to fall back in step with what she was doing before. And would you believe it, Matt Turner? She's done exactly what she was doing before. She has just fallen back into step with Oeditai or with H.A.T.E, whatever you want to call them. And she's just doing the same old shtick. And she is just as bland a character as you can possibly get in terms of this heel stable. If you look at the entirety of this heel stable, I would argue that of the 835 members of H.A.T.E, and then include the satellite members like Azusa Inaba, Konami is by far the most least interesting. And that's really, really upsetting because I feel like Konami, booked correctly, as an actual legitimate killer, we saw her at Bloodsport, booked as a legitimate killer, could be something really, really cool. But instead, she seems to be doing a cookie-cutter, paint-by-numbers situation, which is what she was doing with Oeditai before she retired or went into semi-retirement. And I'm really disappointed with that. I really am. I think the story that she told with Minami was okay, but I found her match... I know that you actually quite enjoyed her match with Hazuki. I thought it was very much a case of, right, we're just going to go back into cheating and, oh, there we go, we're back into those spots again. This actually, for me, has been her best match of the tournament so far. I think...
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And I don't know whether it's because I have sort of been coloured towards Konami because I'm annoyed about the turn. The jury's still out, obviously, on Saya Kamitani. I know that we're going to be talking about the Utsunomiya crowd and that Tekla and Saya Kamitani match, and I think that gives an indication to the level of sort of investment in the H.A.T.E group. But I feel like Konami has gone from being second in command in God's Eye, Goddess of Stardom champion, yes, potentially just being a Syuri underling, but here she is bottom of a totem pole in a group that includes a Clown, Rina, and Ruaka, which isn't a good look for Konami.
I see your points. I agree with some of them. Jury's still out yet for Konami. I mean, she just did this heel turn, so it's like we're going to see if she's doing something new. The new thing that she's doing now compared to 2021 is the spray paint thing, which is not good at all, in my opinion. This match, I was kind of just looking at the matches the night before the tournament started, before I went to bed, and I was like, oh, Konami to Ruaka. This is probably the match in the entire tournament I'm looking forward to the least. I'm glad it's on night one, for one, to get it out of the way, and two, it's going to get lost in the shuffle of these big 5 or 6 matches. But I was like, my bar was really low for this match. Again, one, Konami didn't understand the heel turn. We talked about it. You just talked about it very, very smartly, my man. So great job there. I'm not going to rehash what you just said. Ruaka, again, we mentioned before, she's replacing the world heavyweight champion. In a kayfabe world, Tora is the number 1 wrestler in this company. She has the red belt, right? So she's replacing Tora as the champion, because not because Tora got injured, not because she beat Tora, because Tora just said, I'm not going to be in this tournament. Ruaka is going to get in there. Well, did Ruaka get a fair shake to get in the tournament? Sure, she had to win a qualifying match, and she got disqualified 5 minutes in. So it's just like, oh, whatever. This match is going to be what it's going to be. I'm sure they'll try hard. I mean, they're both really good wrestlers. I mean, they're Stardom. There's no bad wrestlers in Stardom. But this was really, really fun. I thought this was a fun match, and I was pleasantly surprised of how good it was. By no means was it Mayu versus Tam here, the main event, but Ruaka really brought it. Like, she came right out the gate with these really brutal forearms, and I was expecting, we talked about this when this H.A.T E faction was formed, I think probably off air, and then we did on air, that we were going to be really worried that these H.A.T E matches would turn into House of Torture matches, which 4 shows in, really not yet, which is a good thing considering the fact of how talented all these members of H.A.T E in this tournament are, that we really haven't been getting that. And fingers crossed, hopefully, some of the BS stays out of the way and doesn't ruin the tournament. But this was good. Like, Konami, she had like her little heel cheating thing. Ruaka, she did her little heel cheating thing. I like Konami's new finisher. She almost does like a ripcord knee strike, like a rainmaker into the knee strike. Obviously, we know she has the triangle answer, and she's really, really good when it comes to the striking. She's got those educated feet, as Jim Ross would say. But I really like her new finisher that she's displaying here. Ultimately, I thought it was a fun match. Again, my expectations were really low. I had it at 3.5 stars. I don't mind Konami as much. I know you had texted me earlier in the day on Tuesday saying I'm least interested in Konami than I ever been. And I'm like, okay, I still have that second show to watch, and she's wrestling Hazuki. Again, folks, if you listen to this podcast before, you know how much I love Hazuki. And I was like, what can possibly go wrong about this match if Rob is telling me how much he can care less about the new direction Konami's in? And we'll get into it, because I thought the match was really good, and then it literally just fell right into a cliff. And again, we'll get into it when we get into that match. But I like Konami. I like the way she wrestles, because she wrestles that shoot style. But then when she gets in trouble, they do distracting the referee, the spray paint. It's one thing to get hit with a chair or get hit with that god-awful lunchbox that Ruaka has. But when you get the spray paint in the face and the referee turns around, even didn't see the cheating, he's like, what do you think happened? There's a spray can in the middle of the ring. Even the mist, you can kind of say, well, the ref didn't see it. Even though the mist of whether it's Tora or Kagetsu or Muda back in the day, you can be like, well, you didn't see it, so I don't know what happened to so-and-so's face. But like with the spray can, usually the weapon, the smoking gun, is in the middle of the ring or the side of the ring. Like, why do you think that person's face and half their outfit is black? Like, what do you think happened? And they don't even question it. So it's kind of like, I get it. Like, this is the world we live in. I think it's a little bit too much. I think if she was to dial back the spray paint a little bit, the spray can, a little bit, maybe she'll get her comeuppance in one of these matches coming up towards the end of the tournament where she goes to use it and it gets like kicked in her face or something. That I don't know. I like how Konami wrestles, and again, we'll get into the Hazuki match. I thought the Hazuki match was great until the cheating came in, and it was just way too much, way too long. But regardless, my man, I had this at 3.5 stars. I thought this was halfway decent. And like I said, my jury is still out on Konami. And partner, I'm going to tag out for about 20 or 30 seconds, so I will let you go. I'll be back in about 30 seconds, brother. I just have to take care of something.
Okay, no problem. It does fill me with dread whenever Matt Turner does this because I genuinely find myself with very little to say. Luckily, there's about 835 matches to talk about. I do agree with Matt's summations of Konami, and even though, yes, okay, the turn only happened at the start of July, or the end of July, sorry. So we do need to give it time. I am conscious that there are early warning signs that we are going to get a Konami that defaults to just doing the same old shtick. It's why I wasn't invested in Ruaka. It's why way back in 2021 I wasn't invested in the Tora, Natsusumare, and Saki Kashima version of Oedatai when they just did the same thing over and over and over again. And we're actually going to get into something a little bit later from night 2 onwards about H.A.T.E and the way that they are blocking matches, both H.A.T.E and the higher-ups as well. Hello. But before we get into that, we might as well talk about Miyu Amasaki, who in 2 minutes and 15 seconds rolled up Xena, just out of nowhere, especially after Xena had hit the lumbar check, and it was like, oh, okay. And then out of nowhere, Miyu Amasaki hits the Yamahashidate, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. What a shock. And again, it makes perfect sense. You know, Xena has the power advantage, the height advantage, the strength advantage. You know, the only way, really, feasibly, that Miyu Amasaki is going to be able to get the victory, because also you could argue that Xena has the speed advantage and in some cases the athleticism advantage if you look at some of the matches from the past 6 months. The only way that Miyu Amasaki is going to win this match is with a quick roll-up and with the element of surprise, and that's exactly what happens. It's probably a little bit too short to give it a rating, but I thought this was a really, really good way of getting Miyu Amasaki the victory while still keeping Xena really, really strong, because as anyone that listens to this podcast on a regular basis knows, I'm a huge fan of Xena. I'm a huge fan of her progress. I think, as I've said multiple times, she's the most improved wrestler on the entire Stardom roster on this year alone. And I think here we did what we needed to do. We got Miyu Amasaki the victory, we kept Xena strong, and ultimately we managed to get through one of the matches, knowing that there are 17,000 matches to get through on this card. I think, despite only being 2.5 minutes, Matt, success.
And you knew there's going to be a few matches that were short. Like when this match went 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and then they had the graphic for Rana versus Saki Kashima. Like my whole thing would be like they came back from the curtain and Saki's like, 2 minutes, 15 seconds, hold my beer. So the fact that the marathon match that was match number 5 of Rana and Saki Kashima went on way too long. I'm just kidding. But this one got done in 2:15. And again, I have no problem with these matches. You knew that with you're counting the pre-show tag matches. There's 14 matches on this card. Again, you're not going to have every match for 10, 11, 12 minutes, just because you don't want to wear out that crowd when you're getting toward your main matches. So you know some of these matches were going to be short. I didn't think this one was going to be this short, and I didn't mind it because it was just Miyu trying to use a headlock to grind Xena down, and then Xena's like, I'm just going to overpower you. She beats up Miyu, chops her, she gives her the lumbar check, goes for the thunderstruck, and then Miyu just slips out, and then she gets the leg capture, Okana roll with the Backlund bridge. That's what I'm calling it, buddy, to get the pinfall. Just because it's the 5-star, and I'm going to rate every match because that's just what I do. I had it at 3.5 stars because the 2 minutes and 15 seconds they were in the ring, they didn't waste any time whatsoever. Like, they gave us a compelling story, and the fact they were able to do it in 3 minutes just goes to show you how great Xena and Miyu are. Would I love to see them have a match somewhere down the road where it's on a Corrigan or KBS Hall show, 10, 11, 12 minutes? Absolutely, because both these wrestlers are fantastic, and they're improving at a rapid rate. But I understand why we had to get this one in and out of the ring as quick as possible because of so many other matches on the card. If this one went to 10, 11 minutes and, that it rightfully, that maybe it should have, and it would have been a great match at the end of the show with Natsupoi versus Maika, with Tam versus Mayu, with Azumi versus Momo Watanabe. Would have been remembered? Probably not. So it's just like, why go there? Especially the fact you have a long tournament. We've had so many injuries in this tournament over the last 2 or 3 years. Let's try to minimize our risk. Let them go in there, tell a quick story, have Miyu get the surprise win, and move on to the next one. I got no problem with that. Again, if this was a match where if this was a show that there were 6 tournament matches on and it only got 2 minutes, maybe I'd be scratching my head. But you're forgiven because these two, again, in the ring, less than 2.5 minutes, gave us a great match and a great story. That just goes to show you how great these two wrestlers are.
I think it also puts that sort of idea in your head that anyone can beat anyone in this tournament. Yep. And that obviously adds that layer to it. You know, yes, okay, Mayu Iwatani, one of the best female wrestlers in the world. However, in this tournament, she could quite easily lose a fall to a Saki Kashima, to a Rani Yagami, to a whoever, because it's just how tournaments are. Now, obviously, you know, she's not on the same block as those two, but you get my drift. And this sort of idea of anyone can pin anyone sort of bleeds into the next match. I had no issues with this match. No issues at all. The runtime, how it was booked, nothing. I enjoyed it. Again, did what it needed to do. You want Miyu Amasaki to win, but you don't want to damage how Xena looks. So I think done absolutely perfectly. I couldn't believe that Rani Yagami got the victory over Saki Kashima. However, when Saki came out with the advertising board for E-Fist of the North Star 10 and seemed to be basing her entire offense around this billboard, I was like, I wonder if she's just going to get rolled up and loses. And effectively, Matt, that is what happens.
I kind of feel bad for Rani Yagami too, because she came out with new gear. She looked great, but she did the Konami one pant leg, one short leg, one long leg, and it was kind of like, hey Konami, look what I got. Look at the gear. We can team. And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm turning on you guys in a week. So that's the way I looked at it. It's like she got the Konami gear to be like, hey look, and like, yeah, I'm not going to be a part of this group any further, but. Yeah, Saki, she had new music, and she came out with that. What game was she promoting, Rob?
So, from my admittedly limited and meager research, it's called E-Fist of the North Star 10. Whether that is an online game or an app or what, I do not know. However, that is what it's called, I believe.
I think it's really funny that they probably got the sponsorship with this video game and be like, who's going to be our sponsor? Like, who's going to be our main wrestler? Be Mayu? No. Shuri? No. Azumi? No. Tomoka Inaba? No. Saki Kashima? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So it's really cool because now it gives her something really cool to do on these shows. We know her matches aren't going to go long, and that's the beauty that is Saki Kashima. Again, you have a lot of tournament matches that are going to go 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes that you're just going to be like, wow, that was great. With Saki Kashima, you know she can end any of these matches at any moment. Hence, her and Azumi, the finals of the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix on Azumi's birthday. Poor Azumi. So you know this wasn't going to go long. But yeah, I was shocked at Rani Yagami, who does not get her hand raised quite a bit in singles matches in Stardom. I think you mentioned a little bit ago, Parker, this is only her second win. So, in singles competition here in Stardom. So good way for Rana to start off the tournament by out-Saki. So really cool. 3.25 stars. It was fun. It did what it needed to do. And now we kind of got a little wrinkle in Saki Kashima's game, considering the fact that she's kind of like the spokesperson for this video game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be perfectly honest. If I was going to choose a member of the Stardom roster to advertise a video game, it would be Saki Kashima because, again, what are we talking about in this match? E-Fist of the North Star. Do I know what that is? No. But what great advertising that I now kind of have to research it and know what it is. So, yeah, perfectly done. Again, you're not looking at someone who is going to go deep in this tournament. I would be amazed if Saki Kashima comes out of Blue Stars B with, more than maybe 2, maybe 3 points. I'd be very, very surprised. So giving her this sort of side to it to sort of break up. It's like the Toriano thing in the G1 Climax. He was never going to win. He could beat anybody. He's beaten Omega. He's beaten Tetsuya Naito repeatedly. He beat Moxley. On his day, he can be absolutely anyone. But his matches are going to be full of shenanigans and something a little bit different, a palate cleanser, if you will, on the tournament. So, I wonder if that's sort of the role they're employing for Saki Kashima, which which I'm more than happy about. However, I do anticipate that completely changing if she matches up with anyone out of H.A.T.E. So we'll keep an eye on that. Hanan versus Suzu Suzuki, Matt. I would argue this was probably the first really, really, really good match on the card. One negative out of the way. I wish it had gone a little bit longer. However, again, Hanan has come into this tournament, a draw here, a victory over Mei Seira. She comes into this tournament with the exact same fire that she brought to Micah on the opening night of the 5-star Grand Prix in 2022. That match that went sub 4 minutes and started with Hanan just blitzing Micah in an attempt to get that early victory. She does that here. However, she shows her growth by the fact that she's able to then stay in the match. Pardon me, once Suzu Suzuki turns the tide. Overall, I thought this was a really, really, really good match. There was a whole host of strikes, kicks, and in Suzu's case, some big, heavy punts to the head, which were vicious. It's just that as it was just hitting that stride, you got German suplexy off the apron, you got Hanan hitting the two Hanan specials on the matting. Just as it was hitting that stride, the double count out happened, and I was like, oh, we were so close to having this fantastic match. It was a really good match, but I feel like we could have had something more. And I know that they seem to be, almost teasing us with a feud or another match down the line. And if they were to have another match down the line, and this is the precursor to that, I am very, very excited for that, Matt.
I think so, because a lot of people were saying to what you just said, partner. It's like, oh man, what if this, Suzu and Hanan got back in the ring at the 19 count, and instead of going 9 minutes, they went 12 or 13. We had a definite winner. And I see that. Again, this wasn't the main event of the show. We still had a whole bunch of phenomenal matches after this. Yeah. So I get it. And I like, again, a great point that Hanan last year, she came out blitzing on Micah, but eventually Micah just cut her off, hit the Michinoku driver, and called it a day at around 5 minutes. We see she does the same thing with Suzu Suzuki, and I was like, oh, Hanan, won't you ever learn? And then Suzu just properly beats the crap out of her because of Suzu Suzuki. But then Hanan was able to fire back. There's enough resilience where she's able to fire back, and then they go back and forth. They have these really violent exchanges. Suzu pitches her into the front row because that's what Suzu does, and didn't realize that we're going to have 94 matches where people are going into the front row, which we'll get into. I really, again, me being an ECW guy back in the 90s, really don't mind it. But we get all sorts of violence. We get great wrestling. We get some great back and forth exchanges. And then that finish is just wild with Suzu eating two head dumps on the floor back to back, and then Hanan tries to get in the ring, and Suzu's just like so enraged that she got dropped on her head not once but twice on the concrete, just decides to pick Hanan up and just throw her behind her head when the German suplex. Thank God that the rest of the members of Neo Genesis and Stars were there to catch Hanan. But how this match ended was really, really cool because, again, you had those two big head dumps that Suzu eats, and only for her to basically yank Hanan off the apron to get German onto the floor for the double count out. And then you have a brawl afterwards where it's like they're not done. They don't care that this ended in a double count out. They don't care this match is over. They just want to inflict violence on each other. So these two never really had a reason to feud, right? It's not like they were feuding for a championship or anything like that, even though Suzu had won this tournament last year. Hanan's just coming off back in the spring, winning the Cinderella tournament, so you kind of have your last two singles tournament winners on opening night one, which I really liked that booking. I thought that was really smart and something really cool that added to it. But now you have these two, it's just like, we're just going to go have a match here just to try to get who's going to get the first 2 points. And now it's turned into something else. And I think Stardom, they planted the seeds here for something that can be really, really cool. Hopefully somewhere after the 5-star, they follow through with it. Because I don't think anybody has pegged Hanan or Suzu Suzuki to win this tournament. I wouldn't be opposed to either of them because they're great. But if they don't win this tournament, what are they going to have to do between now and their next big feud? Maybe you do this, and you can do tag matches. Who wouldn't want to see Wingori versus Crazy Star? Who wouldn't want to see Eye Contact versus Suzu and Azumi? Who wouldn't want to see 6 persons, 8 persons, and 10 persons with Stars versus Neo Genesis? There's a lot of different things that you can do coming out of this, and we all know that for some reason Hanan and Mei Seira, they don't like each other. We keep forgetting that, and then they have a match where afterwards the two of them are punching each other in the face. just like, oh yeah, we forgot they don't like each other for some reason. So you already had this built-in thing. And by the way, Hannah's just going to be like, oh yeah, Suzu, you want to get Mei to come and jump me? I'm going to get Hazuki. I'm going to get Iida. So there's a lot of things you can do here because you have this new faction of Neo Genesis. And now after the 5-star on these quote-unquote Stardom World shows, you can do a lot of mixing of tag matches, and none of it's going to get old because everybody in Stars, from Mayu to Hazuki to Momokogo to Hanan, they're all great, and all 5 members of Neo Genesis are great. So again, I think that they can build off this. I hope they do, and we get a whole bunch of tag matches. I agree. I would love to see these two tearing each other for 13, 14 minutes. Regardless, I love the match. I love the finish. I had it at 4 stars, and from here it's basically, all systems go to infinity and beyond, as they say in Toy Story, my friend, between here, now, and the rest of the show. Because, I thought this match was great, and then we get into just another phenomenal match at Red Stars A coming up next.
Yeah, completely agree with what you've said there. Yes, these two women are capable of a better match, but again, the idea of these two in a feud is very, very exciting. Putting Hanan on the level of last year's winner, having Suzu Suzuki won the tournament last year, not being able to beat her, that's a great start for Hanan, and sort of gives you that sort of unofficial placing of, right, Hanan is on this level. She's won the Cinderella this year. She's now drawing with last year's tournament winner. I think it's a big statement for the young lioness as well. The violence as well in this match, the aggression that Hanan has shown throughout her 2 tournament matches so far has been brilliant, really, really, really enjoyable. And hopefully we do see another singles match between these two. And you've already mentioned, Matt, Wingori versus Crazy Star. Don't forget that was the match before Suzu Suzuki went on that break for injury. So, we have seen it was great. And to see even more of that, Stars versus Neo Genesis and a multi-woman, yes, absolutely. I want to see all of that. But yeah, a really, really, really good match. I also gave it 4 stars. I would love to see them given 15, 16 minutes on a Corrigan Hall or even on a pay-per-view undercard as well. Hazuki versus Manami. Manami of Sendai Girls, of course. How do you think she did on her 5-star debut, Matt?
Rob, guess what my first note is on this match?
Hazuki has nice gear.
Well, she does, but it was big lockup. We had a big lockup.
Yes.
I thought Manami was great here, and I thought she was great in all the other matches that we'll get into. I thought this was terrific. The way that this card is building, right, with the exception of the last match, you're kind of having quick matches. And Hazuki comes out and just beats up poor Manami. Like, she hits those face washes, those boot scrapes. And you've done a whole bunch of alternate commentary recently of Hazuki, and rightfully so. But we know that she'll go for those the boot scrapes, the face washes early in the match, only for it to get stopped. And then she builds towards it. That's the genius of Hazuki. She understands who she is and her moveset. You tease it a little, get it taken away, and then bring it back. She hits these boot scrapes like 30 seconds into the match, and she's just rolling right over Manami. And I'm like, is this what's going to happen here at Manami? She's going to get steamrolled by Hazuki in this match. And it's like, I understand it because, again, we have a lot more matches coming up. But then Manami's just taking Hazuki's best shot, and she just fires it right back. She fires with forearms, with those knee strikes, with the drop kicks. Like, she was very explosive going towards the tail end of this match. And again, we mentioned it 2 or 3 times already. You don't know what upsets are going to happen. And it got to a point where I was like, is Hazuki going to eat an L here? Is she going to get upset here by Manami? Is she going to start off her tournament very much like Anna Jay, where she's coming into this promotion? And I know she's wrestled a few times for Stardom before, but she's going to upset a fan favorite and a main eventer in Hazuki very much like Anna Jay did just, an hour earlier with Soriano, because that's the way that this was feeling. Again, it looked like Hazuki was going to run away with it. Manami's able to come back and forth with these big jumping knees, missile drop kick, a huge backstabber, Northern Light suplex. Ultimately, though, Hazuki's able to get this. Hazuki did a great job with the Hazuki straw at the 2.9. Like, Hazuki's just getting beat up, like Manami's making her comeback, and she's doing a great job bumping and feeding and selling for Manami, really making Manami look really good and making her look resilient, considering the early beating that Hazuki put on Manami. And then Hazuki's able to get this Hazuki straw out of nowhere. I'm like, oh, this is a good finish. Desperation to beat Manami. Manami kicks out. I bid on the Hazuki straw. Majority of the crowd bid on the Hazuki straw as well. Eventually, though, Hazuki's able to get back to the role that she had early on in the match. She hits the code breaker, top rope senton. I thought this was great storytelling. No other match on this card had the storytelling, like the ways that they went about telling their story, than this one. To me, it really stood out. I thought Manami was great. And folks, it's Suzuki, the wrestling machine, the people's champ, as we call her here on the Stardom cast. It's a great match. I'd love to see these two run it back. Again, we know that some of these matches aren't going to go 13, 14 minutes because of what we have coming up in the next few matches. But 9 minutes, great job. Love to see it go 12 or 13. I actually had it at 4.25 stars. I thought this was terrific.
I thought Manami did really, really well here. Hazuki's Hazuki. You know, you sort of take it as law now that Hazuki's going to have a fantastic match. She is the person that Kirsty managed to watch quite a bit of this with me downstairs. And she was the one that Kirsty commented on, oh, I really like her entrance robe. And then when she took it off and she had the bright orange gear, she was like, I really like her gear as well. So that is Kirsty as a Hazuki fan confirmed. But Manami, yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't she be? Manami, I thought she approached this match with a lot of exuberance, and what I quite liked is Manami is so pumped for this match, and she lets that exuberance of youth get to her, and Hazuki's able to sort of counteract that. She's an in-ring vet, she's got oodles of experience, and she's able sort of to turn the tide and sort of cut out Manami's legs whenever she gets that head of steam going before she eventually hits this diving senton. It's a really good outing for Manami, who utilised the pockets of offense she got really, really well. But ultimately, Hazuki just proved too strong. And I think that's a really good story to tell. I liked what you said earlier, Matt, about how, you know, in a card of 12 matches, not every single one is going to be able to be this 5-star class that you remember forever. So you've got to sort of almost settle for telling little stories and sort of, you know, building things, which, you know, is something I hadn't really thought about with the Hana and Suzuki match, but it's also something that I think is prevalent here in the Hazuki Manami match. But overall, I think they did really, really well. I gave it 3.75 stars. Excellent job from Manami, and again, Hazuki is Hazuki. Our second draw of the show, time limit draw, Mei Seira and Tomoka Inaba, perhaps the most anticipated tournament debutante, Inaba, and by Jove, she didn't disappoint. Mei Seira, who alongside Iida might be my tournament MVP so far. The breakout star, MVP, whatever you want to call them, I think that every time she has been put into a match, you know, she had this great match here with Inaba where it was all based on each other's legs. You know, we had the start where Inaba actually kept up with Mei Seira, which I thought was remarkably impressive, but then they sort of changed tack with Mei Seira wanting to target Inaba's leg because of the kicks, and Inaba wanting to target Mei Seira's legs because of the speed. And I think Mei Seira in particular did such a phenomenal job of selling during that frantic closing stretch. You know, the knee bar that both of them found themselves locked in. You know, you've got the Achilles lock as well. You know, Inaba throwing this furious volley of kicks and Mei Seira digging deep and managing to kick out every single time to look like this just determined, dogged, determined badass. I thought overall really, really, really well structured match. In terms of time limit draws, again, as I've already said, we have had 5 draws, whether they are countouts or time limit draws, in this tournament so far. Most of them containing these two. But overall, I thought this was the one that made the most sense. 2 tournament debutantes, a first-time matchup, 2 completely contrasting styles that ultimately ended in a fantastic closing stretch. Really, really, really good match. 4.25 stars.
Yeah, I wouldn't have pegged this one to go 15 minutes because of just the speed that Mei Seira wrestles and the fact that Tomoka Inaba, she's very good at the high-speed style, but like we know that she can literally finish you with one move. I mean, her finisher is one shot, one kill, Inaba kick, or whatever it's called. But it's like one shot, one kill, where it's like you can understand the psychology of a match where Tomoka just like hits you in the head and then hits that running PK, and that's it. But the fact that they gave this match 15 minutes, I was like, wow, and it worked, because we've seen Mei Seira again. You made mention that a couple months ago. She may be the only wrestler, maybe in the history of wrestling, that's actually faster than a Zoom, where sometimes she has to slow her speed down so she's not going too fast, Tomoka's able to keep up with her. They start off with like a little high-speed match to start, and they start going after each other's legs, and it slows down the style a little bit in a good way because they're able to tell the story, and we don't see Mei or Tomoka quite a bit using that strategy, but it was something different, and it worked because it made sense. Tomoka Inaba is not going to be able to keep up with Mei Seira's speed. Mei Seira is not going to be able to keep up with Tomoka Inaba's insane offense, especially those kicks. Why wouldn't each wrestler try to break down the other's leg? So I like that. I like that psychology that whenever one of these wrestlers, as we're 5-6 minutes in, gets an advantage, they go to the knee bar or the Achilles lock to try to break down their opponent's leg. Excellent stuff here. Obviously, Tomoka with just the flurry of offense with the kicks and the forearms, I thought was great. I like how Tomoka was able to use the rope assisted dragons for leg whip. I thought that was really good. Then she goes into the ankle lock that sets up for the one shot, one kill. But the one shot, one kill, somehow, I don't know how Mei Seira does it. When she did in the match with Tam, which we'll get into later, I don't know how she's able to just like counter the big finishing move from Tomoka here into the rolling star, or the shooting star, excuse me. I thought that was great. It was like, how is it humanly possible? Like, she's just on another level. And I agree, like Mei Seira, again, we're only 4 nights into this tournament, so who knows who's going to come out as the MVP or breakout star, but you can make argument for so many different wrestlers. Again, I thought this was terrific, really good stuff. The fact that they gave these two wrestlers 15 minutes to tell their story when I didn't think that needed to go that long because, again, the styles that they wrestle, but it made so much sense. We now know that Tomoka had that match with Micah where it went, I think, somewhere close to 20 minutes. But we know now that Mei Seira can tell a phenomenal story given 14, 15, 16 minutes, what have you. So now we know what a great wrestler Mei Seira is as a singles wrestler, as a high-speed wrestler, obviously as a tag wrestler with Crazy Star with Suzu Suzuki. But we now know the fact, Rob, and we've been singing Mei's praises since she came back to Stardom last April. We now know that she can tell a story when tapped to go 14, 15, 16 minutes because she did it here. She did it brilliantly. I agree with you. I had it 4.25 stars as well. Just a terrific, terrific match from two phenomenal wrestlers that are having a phenomenal tournament.
What I think's really good about this match is that, yes, both women, especially initially, wrestled their more comfortable game. Mei Seira has high speed, and Tomoka Inaba using that one-hit kill Tomoka kick, I believe the move is called, but utilizing those brutal strikes that we've seen so often. And yet, towards the end, it's become this frantic, desperate desire to win, with both women just trying to wrench on each other's legs. And I think Mei Seira has done such a good job in building her character that when she is in peril, you can't help but will her to get to a rope or to get out of the hold or be able to lock in the shooting star for that surprise victory, because she's done so well cultivating this babyface persona. And actually, similar to Azumi, she is so much more now than just a quick person who's able to do good wrestling at high speed. She's able to tell stories in ring, and that's how you know that someone is going to be a really, really, really big star, a shooting star, if you will. But I think, again, coming out of these 4 shows, Iida, who we're going to be talking about at length, I imagine, later on, but Mei Seira as well, have come out of this tournament looking so damn good. And, in 18 months' time, if you were to say Mei Seira's in the white belt picture, I'd be more than happy with that, because she's proved that she's not a one-trick pony, that she's not just someone that sort of falls back on that high-speed offense, because her on defense, her storytelling, her selling, her facials, all absolutely tremendous. Really, really, really good match. As I said, 4.25 stars. Syuri and Starlight Kid, my second favourite match of the tournament. Again, Starlight Kid had a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, I feel, coming into this tournament. Really poor tournament last year, just 2 victories. Syuri, a really imperious opponent, someone who knows what it takes to win the tournament, knows what it takes to be in that main event, winning that red belt, and someone who is just a terrifying proposition anyway, because she's such a legitimate striker and such a legitimate submission specialist. But Starlight Kid goes toe-to-toe with Syuri for a large, vast majority of this match. And she actually says in a post-match promo, it's White Tiger versus Black Tiger. And that's the sort of story of this match. And I really, really enjoy it because Syuri, for all of our talk about how she is this dominant, badass, this insurmountable wrestling juggernaut, she sells really well because her facials are so good. We were talking about it actually during our watch along when we watched her match with Masha Slamovich about how good her selling is, how good her facials are, and how much she puts over an opponent. And yes, ultimately Starlight Kid loses and she gets locked in. Just a ridiculously brutal Genbu. That spinning one as well was absolutely just unnecessarily savage. But ultimately, I think Starlight Kid comes out of this match feeling like even more of a star than she already does, but feeling like someone who is maybe not quite on the level of Syuri, but someone who is a damn sight closer to that level than she was this time last year.
Yeah, I like how the match starts with Sherry's like, I'm not getting paid by the hour. I'm going to try to take Starlight Kid's head off here with one of these kicks or forearms. And Starlight Kid uses her speed to dodge. I thought that was cool. I didn't know that Sherry had that promo where it was Black Tiger versus White Tiger. That's really cool because when you take a step back, that's what this match was. It really was. It was kind of Starlight Kid trying to bob and weave, float like a butterfly and sting like a bee, to quote the late, great Muhammad Ali. And like the first big move of the match is she's able to get Shuri on the outside and hit that picture-perfect Asai moonsault to get the first advantage of the match. And Shuri, who's a great strategist, again, former MMA fighter, uses the strikes to set up the submissions. And you're right, that 360 stretch muffler White Tiger that she had on Starlight Kid was really the kind of the building blocks of this match, where it's like, if I'm going to win this match, I need to be able to close the distance on the faster, cagier Starlight Kid. And eventually she gets there. Eventually she's able to find out the movement of Starlight Kid and is able to close in on her for the kill. But there's some really good spots where Starlight Kid just won't give up. She's constantly fighting back onto Sherry. Her knee getting all busted up towards the end of the match, be damned, because she hits a phenomenal moonsault. And I know, again, me and you were texting back and forth after some of these matches. I really bit, and I know you did as well, partner, on the Momo latch and the moonsault. But I both thought, like, oh man, this is going to be another upset. Not that it will be a huge upset, but for Starlight Kid, who's obviously never held a major singles championship in Stardom before, and Shuri, who's arguably, one of, if not the best red belt champion of all time, won this tournament back in 2021, it still would have been some sort of an upset. And they gave us two big teases there with the Momo latch and the moonsault. Ultimately, though, it's Shuri able to use her striking and her submission ability to get Starlight Kid back in that stretch muffler, the White Tiger, for the tap out. I thought this was great. It always seems like Shuri, when it comes to 5-star season, she just ramps it up. She really, really does. If you remember, after she lost the World of Stardom Championship at the end of 2022, she had some good matches, but she was kind of like, okay, now what we do with Sherry? You know what I mean? We have to elevate Julia and Tam and Mayu with the IWGP and Mina and Sai with the Wonder Belt. So Sherry just kind of just floated around, and then night one of the 5-star last year, she goes and has a 5-star classic with Suzu Suzuki, and you're like, oh yeah, Sherry's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like, duh, of course, and she proves it right here. It seems like as far as work rate goes, there's nobody that has the high level of matches that Sherry does, and considering the fact she's only been in this tournament for a handful of years, she doesn't have the long experience like a Momo Watanabe, like a Nazumi, like a Mayu. Obviously, it always seems like Sherry just 5-star season. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to prove to everybody that I'm one of the best wrestlers in the world. 4.5 stars for me, my man. I thought this was absolutely terrific.
Yeah, 4.5 stars from me too. I love the match because Starlight Kid tries to go toe to toe with Shuri, which is never something that I would do because she terrifies me on a very, very basic human level. But also, I wonder if the need to prove herself after last year's tournament led to her trying to go so gung-ho against someone like Shuri. I mean, there's not many people who can go submission for submission with Shuri. And yet Starlight Kid, aside from getting those fantastic 2 counts, with the Momo latch in particular, there aren't many people who are able to have Shuri in such trouble with submissions. And yet that Black Tiger leg killer was seen as such a killer, pun intended, in this match. And I think, that's credit to Starlight Kid. It's credit to Syuri for the selling. But I think she does come out of this match with sort of that, right, okay, everyone's seen what I'm capable of now. Everyone has seen that maybe last year was a blip, but I am back. I am back on the biggest stage. I am back to win this tournament. She's done a promo recently, might have even been today, where she talked about how her and Azumi have dreamed that, you know, to be finalists in the 5-star Grand Prix and face each other in the 5-star Grand Prix. I don't think that happens this year, but that's a story. Like generational rivals, I can see that happening in the next maybe 2 tournaments, something like that. Syuri and Starlight Kid and Azumi in the finals, absolutely, hell yeah. Overall, for me, this renovated that narrative of how bad the tournament was last year for Starlight Kid. She's come out of the traps. Yes, she's lost, but she lost in the best possible way, which I know seems paradoxical, but there we are. Again, Matt, completely agree with you. 4.5 stars. Azumi finally getting another victory, another singles victory, a meaningful singles victory over Momo Watanabe. And I'm not going to wax lyrical about the story. I'm not going to talk about how good this match was. I am going to talk about one particular spot, Matt. And that is where Azumi legitimately tried to cause murder. She legitimately tried to kill Momo Watanabe. You know the spot I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone that watched this match knows the spot I'm talking about. Why the hell would you try a bloody destroyer from the top rope? I mean, don't get me wrong, it looked cool, it looked incredible, but good grief, Momo Watanabe landed so high on her neck, Matt.
I got pretty much almost the same text from you than I did from Andy Header. Andy watches later in the day because as insane as he is, he's not insane like us where we're getting up at 2 or 3 o'clock to watch these phenomenal shows where it was like all in capital letters, a few words I can't say on this podcast. It's not G-rated. Like, you kidding me? Azumi with a top rope Canadian Destroyer. We've seen Azumi the last 2 years been able to adopt the Canadian Destroyer in these matches that usually sets up the Azumi Sushi. And I made mention a few times on these shows over the past year or so. I like how she uses it. The Canadian Destroyer basically it targets the opponent's neck. The Azumi Sushi is the opponent's body weight folding over on the neck that she just injured. I don't think Azumi's done a top rope Canadian Destroyer before because I think we would have remembered it. Between me and you, I think we've seen every one of Azumi's matches from 2020 into current day, and we would have remembered it. But, I mean, a great match with a great finish that we're going to remember for a long time. Now, Rob, I didn't know this, but the night before, the last 2 or 3 nights before this tournament started, I was really getting into 5-star season. I was going back, watching a whole bunch of matches, a whole bunch of shows. After I ate dinner that Friday night, I was sitting on my couch watching the finals from last year's 5-star Grand Prix. And I didn't realize that Momo and Azumi were paired up on the final night of the 5-star Grand Prix, and then they're paired up on night 1 of this year's 5-star Grand Prix. So Azumi, I don't know if you remember this because I completely forgot about it. Azumi comes to now Momo comes out first. She's the heel. Azumi comes to the ring with her photo book that she did the prior year, right? It must have just got released. So she comes out with it very much like Saki Kashima. She's trying to show it to everybody to go and buy it. And what happens is Momo jumps Azumi on the entrance. What happens this year? Momo jumps Azumi on the entrance. Like, oh, Azumi, won't you ever learn? Like, you're in the ring with Momo, you're going to get jumped. Or just say, hey, is there any way you can play my music first? Let me come out first. Because I'm tired of this. But I thought that was a really cool story, how Momo was just like, we're former tag partners. We won the 2020 Goddess of Stardom tournament. My opinion, they're the greatest tag team to never win the Goddess of Stardom titles. But all due to respect to Rissa and Tam of Dreamshine, I'm a huge fan of Momo Oz. Me and Andy Header have stolen a lot of their tag moves. Another story for another day. But anybody that hasn't seen these two wrestle before, and we know that there's a lot of new eyes on Stardom, but a lot of people I talked to that were waiting for this show to come up on Stardom World. They're waiting for the 3 or 4 days because they didn't want to pay the $30 some odd, which to me was well worth it. But I understand they have a Stardom World subscription; they want to stick to that. A lot of people that I know that have just recently subscribed to Stardom World over the past month or two, they asked me later on that Saturday what were the go-to matches. And I said this was, for me, my second favorite match of the night. This was terrific. I know a lot of people still have it pegged as the match to beat for the tournament 4 nights in. But I did say if you're new to Stardom, you have to understand that Momo and Azumi, they know each other very well. Former tag partners, they were in the Goddess of Stardom tag tournament. They were in Queen's Quest together. They know each other very well. As this match is building towards the end, it's counter for counter for counter. You see the Azumi Sushi getting stacked for almost a near win that I thought Momo was going to win. Momo hits the Inhumane driver, basically the reverse B driver. Not a lot of people kick out of that. Azumi's able to kick out of it. So it's a lot of really cool counters where Azumi counters the Tequila Sunrise. Eventually, though, Momo was able to get it. Azumi is able to counter the Peach Sunrise. So really cool stuff just countering back and forth. You see Momo able to counter the La Mystica, able to get out of the arm bars. I thought it was great because it was just great counter wrestling back and forth. Again, furthering the story, these two know each other so well. They've been tag partners since, I think, 2018, 2019, something like that. Where eventually it's just like, in order for somebody to get a win here, because we can't win with our big moves, we can't win with a quick sneak 1-2-3 or a stack on a sneak 1-2-3, excuse me, because again, Momo was able to stack up the Azumi Sushi. It's got to be something major that ends the match. And boy, howdy, was it, with an insane Canadian Destroyer, and then Azumi Sushi, just for the cherry on top, hits the Azumi Sushi after the top rope Canadian Destroyer. This was absolutely terrific. Just another great match in these two their catalog. 4 3/4 stars for me. This was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 4.5 for me. I thought, again, you've said everything there is to say about this match. Absolutely tremendous. The idea that they know each other so well that it's going to take something completely different to win it, perfectly executed. Again, Azumi might not win this year's tournament. She might not get through to the final. However, she is another one that is cementing herself as a tournament MVP candidate. Really, really, really amazing matches. And she's got that aura, whether it's the brand new gear, the gear that we saw at Supercard of Honor, if you remember, whether it's just the general feeling of, yeah, we're in the presence of something really quite special here, but the crowd are really building her as a main eventer. So I can see big, big things in the future of Azumi. Maybe not in this tournament, maybe not even in this year, but big things are certainly on the horizon for Azumi. Saya Kamatani debuted her new look and her new music. I thought having the Queen's Quest sort of montage before her music started was really good, and just that emphatic, the Golden Phoenix is dead. Very melodramatic, but really, really good. She's basically donned out now in a black version of her Phoenix gear. So rather than bright greens and reds and golds that we're used to, it's just a black variation of that. But even so, when she comes out with the Phoenix Queen flag in the same way that she used to hold the Queen's Quest flag, that huge collar on this coat as well, so she's got like Maleficent vibes, looked really cool. In terms of the entrance and the look, the new Saya persona has been a home run. It really, really has. Obviously, Risa and Saya have very recent history in the Catch the Wave tournament, and what I really enjoyed was that Risa Seira had no time whatsoever for this new darker Saya. She was done with all of this pomp and circumstance and shenanigans, and all she wanted to do was beat the Jimmy out of Saya Kamatani, and I was all there for it.
Yeah, the look, and I think I texted you, it reminded me of Big Match Manami Toyota. You threw a little kin there to a Disney villain. I see your point there. This was a home run. The entrance, everything, she just looks so badass, so cool. We didn't mention it's going to take time for the heel persona in the ring to click. You look at Momo Watanabe, who, you go back and watch her Wonder of Stardom Championship run, some of those matches she wrestled as a tweener, especially some of those matches with Jungle Kiona, which just goes to show you how loved Jungle Kiona was, and still is. But like when she turned heel, we're like, okay, we can kind of see it. She's a very aggressive wrestler. And there were little bits and pieces where she would get it. Like, okay, she's getting it. And she really didn't hit full great worker heel mode until last year's 5-star Grand Prix. And it's been nothing but home run after home run over the last year plus from Momo Watanabe. We knew Saya Kamatani, who works this uber babyface style, it's going to take a little bit for the in-ring heel persona. And as far as this match goes, it was good, not great. You want to see two great Saya Kamatani versus Risa Sera matches, watch their matches from Catch the Wave. I know there's a lot of huge Saya Kamatani ride or die fans on Twitter, and I trust me, folks, I'm with you. Whether Saya was heel, babyface, they are ride or die with Saya Kamatani, and I love that passion and that loyalty towards Saya Kamatani. I know I had a lot of people saying, Matt, it probably just wasn't that good because Saya and Risa don't have chemistry together. Oh no, you clearly have Stardom World. Watch the matches from Catch the Wave because those matches were great. If Momo Watanabe has this heel persona down at a 10, I think Saya Kamatani is like a 2.5. And we'll get to, because even the eye rake, her first move of the match is an eye rake, and she can't even get the eye rake on right. Like, like she looked great. Like the persona, the music, the whole nine, the aura. Like, this is fantastic. And I know when I was talking to Karen Peterson, again, she talked me off the ledge after the incident a few weeks ago, which we're not going to get into because we got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to get into it. But she said she likes this new heel with Saya because she doesn't like Saya crying. She's like, I'm tired of Saya crying. And I'm like, I will disagree on that because when Saya cries, I get all emotional and I'm invested in the babyface Saya Kamatani character where it's like, she looks really cool here. And that obviously Saya Kamatani is long gone, but she needs to figure out who she is going to be in the ring. And there's nobody that can tell Saya Kamatani there's certain people that can give her advice on what to do or who to be in the ring, but ultimately it's Saya Kamatani is going to know what Saya Kamatani wants to be. Nobody's going to be more invested in your character than you yourself. So, yeah, this match was just okay for me. I liked how Saya brings out they're fighting on the outside, right? And Saya brings out all the chairs. And you have all the other 84 members of H.A.T.E there, right? And then Risa Sera is just like, well, she's a hardcore wrestler, and she sees all the chairs here. She has no backup. None of the members of prominence are there. It's just her. So she sees the writing on the wall where, again, if you're looking at this a real-life situation, if you're in a bar fight and there's 4 empty beer bottles and it's you fighting the guy and 3 of his buddies, what are you going to do? You're going to fire these beer bottles off at the other guys to try to make up for the advantage. So Saya's the heel. She brings out the chairs. Ultimately, it's Risa Sera that just starts sabooing these chairs into the other members of H.A.T.E. And I think it was Konami that takes the referee and uses the referee as a shield. And this poor referee just eats this chair going 90 miles an hour.
It was it was I've ragged on Konami during this episode. Genuinely, I howled at that bit. Just hiding behind the ref. You're right. The ref ate it so hard. It was very, very well done.
So the ref gets bumped there, and how the ref gets bumped, the ref gets taken out by something that H.A.T.E does on an inapparent chair shot that Risa Sera threw in that the heel brought in. So I think I even text you halfway through the match and said, this is genius because they're bringing the chairs into the ring. The ref is nowhere to be found, right? However, there's 2 spots that happen with the chairs in the ring. Saya reverses a powerbomb into a hurricanrana. Risa eats the chairs, and then Saya Kamatani does a Northern Light suplex into the chairs. That, to me, doesn't make any sense. The heel should be the one eating the chairs. The heel helped take the ref out. The heel brought the chairs into the ring, or into the match, not once but twice. Once on the outside, once on the inside. So I'm like, I didn't like that. Like, I would have liked it maybe if Risa hits the air raid crash that she does so well. Onto Saya, into the chairs. She has her pinned, but the ref can't count it because the ref is still on the outside because of what Konami did. That's where I would have went with that. They kind of go back and forth for a little bit. Something gets lost in communication. Saya eventually hits a hurricanrana, covers Risa Sera for the 3 count. Something was just missed there. Again, Saya Kamatani is going to take a little bit of time to get this heel persona down. It was a good match, considering the fact that I know they can have a great match because I've seen it happen twice in the past few months. I had it at 3.5 stars.
I'm the same, 3.5 stars. Do you think a lot of this miscommunication and things like this is because Saya Kamatani has never wrestled heel before? This is her first singles match as a heel. We talked about it last week about how her moveset is still so babyface centric. There's so much of it that lends itself to sort of this rallying cry of a babyface, and yet we're supposed to boo her. And really, she's not doing a tremendous lot that makes us want to boo her. And actually, rather worryingly, there's not a lot of reaction either way in terms of cheering or booing. And I think that's probably the most concerning thing. Again, that match with Tekla and Utsunomiya, I am going to talk about a little bit more about it there, but I do wonder if her sort of feeling out process of trying to sort of work what is going to work and what's not going to work in terms of wrestling as a heel, I do wonder if that's going to impact on match quality for at least the next couple of matches while she sort of gets the moveset down. Overall, I think this was one of the weaker matches on the card, which is, you know, you think back to the 5-star announcements. If I'd have told you that a Saya Kamatani match when she was Queen's Quest Saya and, you know, you'd got this idea that she was going to sort of win the match in this rebuilding of Saya Kamatani, if I'd have told you that a Saya Kamatani match was going to be one of the weaker ones on the card, you'd have slapped me in the face and called me an idiot, and rightly so. You know, really hard. Like when
I don't know if I hate you that much. I don't even hate you at all, buddy. I got too much love for you. I don't think I would slap you in the face. I would chop you.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I'll chop you at a WrestleMania again. You know, but that was brought upon on you. But that's another story for Las Vegas next year.
It was my decision, to be fair, and on a cold day, I can still feel it. But yes, I do wonder how much that has to do with it. It's a shame. If we're going just on a visual standpoint, I think the turn is a success. It's so striking. It's so different. The music's great. The general packaging is great. But then it gets into the ring and, I don't know, something is... No, it's not. And I do wonder at what point Saya is going to be, you know, sort of coached that sticking your tongue out is not the only thing you can do to make you a heel. And that's not on Saya by any stretch of the imagination. That is not on Saya. She has never wrestled as a heel. You know, someone needs to be coaching her through, which to a credit, I think Tekla was physically trying to do during their matchup. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Semi-main event here, a match that did not suffer. Maika versus Natsupoi. I absolutely love this match. And I think I like this match considerably more than a lot of people. I loved it. On the theme of brand new entrance gear and music, Maika is another one. Now, Matt Turner, Iida said that this 5-star Grand Prix was ultimately so far a success. However, I was devastated to find out that they've changed Maika's music, and I'm now going to have to quit the podcast. Because why do you change perfection? I mean, don't get me wrong. Entrance gear, the Kitsune-inspired mask, the entrance gown, the long tights. I saw someone say she's trying her best to be Utami. That really made me laugh. But everything, the packaging, beautiful. That theme song was an absolute banger. That breakdown, you can't not headbang to it. Yes, I quite like the new theme. That's not the point. Okay? I'm not happy, Matt Turner. I'm not happy at all. Nah.
You want me to put the Matt Turner positive spin on this, buddy?
I don't know if you can.
I totally agree. Her old theme, much better, right? Now let's take a look. Let's take a step back, right? Again, there's nothing we can change. It's not like we're at a restaurant. They brought us the wrong item, and they're gonna bring it back. They're not gonna change it. They're not gonna. This is Maika's theme. This is her new theme. This is the rebuilding of Maika. Whether she wins this tournament or not, you know, that's another story for another day.
You're not helping, Matt Turner.
Hold on. I'm breaking it down and building it back up. And again, when I end this point, I'm telling you right now, I agree with you. Her old theme is better. Now, you have to look at all of the themes that have been changed over the past few years. Obviously, we have Maika. Mm-hmm. We have Hanan. Mm-hmm. We have Azuki. Mm-hmm. We have Julia. All themes on a scale of 1 to 10 that are 9s to 10s, right? The new Julia theme, or the new, you know, the one she had in Stardom, again, 9 to 10, the old one. The new one, maybe a 2, maybe a 3 on a good day. Hanan, again, a 9 to a 10 on the old theme. The new one, it's grown on me, maybe a 6 or 7. The Hazuki theme, the old theme, probably a 10, right? This new one, it's grown on me, maybe a 7.5. Maika, totally agree. The old theme, a 10. This one is like an 8, 8.5. So if you're judging on the newer themes that they've redone over the past year or so, the new Maika theme is the best of them. So that's where I'm going to end it. But I totally agree with you. Don't quit the podcast. That wouldn't be good to anybody because nobody wants you to quit the podcast based on something that you can't control. So don't let something you can't control bother you or you quit this podcast that you have legions of fans from, my friend. So that's where I'm going to end it on that. Oh, by the way, this match was phenomenal. So why are you going to quit the podcast based on a wrestling theme? This was terrific. It was speed versus strength. Anytime Natsupoi was in trouble, Maika's arm, we've seen, has been taped up over the past 4 or 5 weeks. Natsupoi has been going to the arm bar. And now she's Wonder of Stardom champion. You know, she's going to be main eventing a whole bunch of shows because she's holding the prestigious white belt, and she's adding something new. We've seen her dabble going to the arm bar from time to time, but she really was working it here on Maika, and Maika did a great job selling. Maika, who's one of the stronger wrestlers in this promotion, clearly has the strength on advantage on Natsupoi, but Natsupoi uses her speed and her technique to get the arm advantage on Maika. And one thing we don't see a lot with Maika is on the back pedal on selling. She was great selling here. There's a lot of different levels of selling here. Natsupoi was very aggressive going into her new submission style here, and it works very well for Natsupoi adding into this arsenal. Again, she's the Wonder of Stardom champion. She needs to add a little bit more viciousness into her offense to be main eventing shows. And here it is. We see it right here. There's a great spot towards the end where Maika's finally starting to build up some momentum here on Natsupoi, and she has the torture rack on Maika on the top rope.
Yeah.
And Natsupoi out of it and in the armbar. I thought that was great. I figured Maika would get a win here, and it's a win that she absolutely needs, considering the fact that she ate back-to-back L's from Tora, one in Cork and Hall, and then one ultimately to lose the championship. But the fact that she reverses the fairy blink, I thought was great because, again, any match can finish at any possible point in time. I thought it was a great part for this match to finish. A great story from these two. I thought Maika, again, her old gear, I liked it a little bit better. I liked her better with the longer hair, very much like Tam, which we'll get into. Still looked like a badass. I like the repackaging of Maika. We're trying something new here. I thought it was great. I thought this match was terrific. 4.5 stars. Another great match, and ultimately, like I said, this is my favorite show of the entire year.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you've set aside some time away from social media every day. Maybe you find the time to put on your favourite Mayu Iwatani match. Maybe you never skip leg day or therapy day. When your schedule is packed like Ryogoku with kids' activities, big work projects and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non-negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. It's so important to make time for yourself, even when life can get so hectic. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to become the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's a service that is entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/stardom today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/stardom. And now back to today's episode. 4.25 stars. I agree with absolutely everything you said. Natsupoi's work of the arm was tremendous, but also something that goes, completely under the radar is how good a striker she actually is. Some of the forearms she's throwing with, one of the more powerful wrestlers on the Stardom roster. Really, really, really good. And let's not forget that this result effectively guarantees us a Maika versus Natsupoi singles match for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. I mean, we're all winners. We're all winners, Matt Turner, in terms of this. Yes, this is the only sole reason I'm not quitting the podcast over Maika's new theme, because the match was this good. The work that Natsupoi does on the arm and the fact that it is continual and the fact that Maika therefore can't use any of her power moves to, get the victory over Natsupoi, has to resort to a roll-up. Perfectly done. Really, really, really good. Main event time. What to say about this match? Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano knocked it out of the park. Clearly, this story of Tam's leg is going to be a story point throughout the entire of this tournament. It was a part of the story when when Tora destroyed it with the chair. It was a part of the story here. It was a part of the story in the tag match on night 2 with Tora, and it was a story point again against Iida, but this was so beautifully done. These two so emotional, so explosive in their strikes, in their exchanges, and just everything was done to perfection. The counts that were so close for Tam, the emotion of her as she can't quite get the victory, those 3 consecutive violet shootings, which one connects flush with Mayu's jaw, and I don't know how she got up again. Mayu collapsing out of the violet screwdriver before she can hit the Dodon power and the moonsault. That closest of close 2 counts with the Andromeda roll-up, tremendous. Really, really, really well done. And of course, Mayu batters Tam's leg with such this savagery that only Mayu can bring. She's got this aura. When she turns into what I like to call, again, pardon the language, dickhead Mayu, where she's sort of got this horrible, sinister grin on her face as she's hurting someone. She's got this sadistic pleasure, and she had that in spades here. It was a look she had on her face when Unagi had her 5-match series or 7-match series, and Mayu battered her for the entirety of the match and just had this grin on her face the entire time. That's what she's got here. She wants to hurt Tam. She wants to destroy Tam, and she does it by attacking that knee relentlessly, viciously, to the point where come the end of the match, Tam is physically sobbing, absolutely sobbing. So well done. Match of the tournament. By far, in my eyes, these two, such good chemistry. Again, another victory for Mayu. Tam has still never beaten Mayu in singles competition. Doesn't have a claim now to that IWGP Women's Championship. 4 3/4 stars. However, should Tam have won this match, or are you all aboard this, knocking Tam all the way down to eventually build her all the way back up to a potential tournament victory, Matt?
That's the way it seems like it's going. Between that and Momo, there's some interesting story, and then this, we don't know what's going on with Saya. Again, this might be just kind of a wait and see. There's some interesting stories going on there, and then obviously with Suzu and Hana, there's a lot of really good irons in the fire, a lot of seeds planted here in these first few shows from Stardom. We know, as far as wrestling quality goes, between now and the end of the month, it's going to be absolutely amazing. What Stardom does between now and the end of the year, with all those big shows bleeding into the beginning of 2025, that's on them. And considering the fact that we have AEW wrestlers coming over, we have Stardom wrestlers coming over to the States, from what I understand. We're recording this on a Wednesday. Mina Shirakawa more than likely is going to be on AEW TV, so hopefully Stardom can take advantage of the added press they're getting from over into the States, coming off this tournament. So I don't know, my man. We shall see. When this match ended, I text you and I said this is the greatest Tam performance that she's ever had, not counting the 3 big Julia matches. I know she's had a lot of big matches with Julia. When I talk about the 3 big Julia matches, I talk about the Budokan Hall match in 2021 from All-Star Dream Cinderella. I talk about their finals from the 2022 5-Star Grand Prix, and then, of course, the main event from All-Star Grand Queendom, where Tam won the World of Stardom Championship. So this is Tam's best performance outside of those 3 matches, and the fact that this match only went 13 minutes because they have a 15-minute time limit, where those other 3 matches got more time to tell their story, and their backstory is a lot more violent than Mayu and Tam, even though the story of Mayu, the Tam Julia backstory, is way more violent than Tam and Mayu. Even though Tam and Mayu do have a really good backstory, this was terrific. The selling, the aggression of Mayu onto Tam's knee. Tam, this is the best sell job she's ever done, and Tam is a very, very good seller, but she really had different levels of that selling only to fire back on. We've seen Tam do the violent shooting 1,000 times before. She also does that pump knee where the wrestler is kind of like into the ropes that usually sends them to the outside. There's a violent shooting that she hits while Mayu's running at her. We've never seen that before, and she clocks Mayu right in the jaw. And then she hits, we mentioned before, those 3 ones back to back to back, and that second or third one, I forget which one it was, really caught Mayu pretty good. Just goes to show the resilience of Mayu. These two were just throwing bomb after bomb after bomb to the point where you didn't know who was going to come out on top. But ultimately, though, it was Mayu with the buzzsaw kick and the dragon suplex that led her to a 2 count that opened up the door for the 2-step dragon, which nobody kicks out of. I thought this was absolutely terrific. This was the best match these two have ever had. Another great match in the catalog of Mayu Iwatani, not just in her career, but this year. This year is a Wrestler of the Year contender for Mayu, not just in Stardom, not just in Joshi, not just women's wrestling, but she's one of the best wrestlers this year in all of wrestling. She's in that category with Danielson and Ospreay, in my opinion, for the best Wrestler of the Year, and she proves it right here in this fantastic match with Tam Nakano. This was 5 stars for me, my friend, and so far, the best match of this tournament.
Let's move on then to night 2, because I know...
Real quick, my man, I just want to let you know that for everybody keeping score at home...
Oh, yes.
It was. And I know that I have to be somewhere in an hour, but I might be able to leave for 5 minutes and then come back. We'll see when that hour comes up. Matt Turner with 5 points, my beautiful bride with 7. So Amber is leading after night 1.
Did she have Anna Jay beating Soriano?
She did. Yes, she did.
Yes, she was the only person in the world who could see that coming. We move to night 2 then, Shibuya Ward Sports Center in Tokyo, 417 people in attendance, 11th of August, red block action. I will go through all of the results, but just for the sake of speaks, we're already 2 hours into this podcast and we have still got 3 shows to talk about. We won't be talking about the non-tournament matches just for the sake of speed. So we started with a tag team match. God's Eye, Lady C and Hina defeated Rian and Waka Tsukiyama, with Hina getting the win with the modified jackhammer in 8 minutes and 8 seconds. 5-star Grand Prix match tournament matches then. Red Stars A, Maika, who was on 4 points, defeated Yuna Mizumori with the Michinoku Driver 2 in 9 minutes and 6 seconds. Red Stars A, Hazuki defeated Ruaka with a roll-up in 9 minutes and 19 seconds. Final match in Red Stars A, Manami got the victory over Konami with another roll-up in 9 minutes and 57 seconds. Tag team match, the H.A.T.E team of Natsuko Tora and Rina defeated the Meltier team of Tam Nakano and Natsupoi, with Tora debuting a brand new submission, the Grand Deathlock, absolutely eviscerating Tam's knee again in 11 minutes and 44 seconds. Red Stars B match, Tomoka Inaba defeated Momo Watanabe with that one-hit kill Tomoka kick in 12 minutes and 1 second. Semi-main event, Mei Seira and Azumi from Red Stars B went to a 15-minute time limit draw. And then in your main event, Red Stars B, Mayu Iwatani defeated Saya Iida with the moonsault in 12 minutes and 41 seconds. Matt Turner, what match would you like to talk about?
I just want to say, I talk all the time how much I like Yuna Mizumori. This was Yuna's best singles match I've ever seen her have, which one goes to show you how fantastic she is and how much this tournament means to her, and two, just how great Maika is to take somebody that is, for the lack of a better term, on the mid-card and pull her up with the former World of Stardom champion and somebody that came into that was in the finals last year of this tournament. I thought Yuna did great, and Maika made sure that Yuna looked like $1 million. Great way for this tournament, night 2 to start out. I actually had it at 4 stars, partner.
Yeah, I thought this was great. I thought, I texted you and said this is why so many people were excited to have Yuna Mizumori in this tournament. And it's matches like this. She continues that work that Natsupoi had done on Maika's arm. She's thinking about it. She's having, she's got game plans. She was working that arm. She was snapping it across the top rope, taking those lariats out of it. Whenever Maika went for a lariat, Yuna Mizumori will block the bad arm and then hit one of her own. It was really, really good work from her. And it was only really a momentary mistake when Mizumori runs into Maika and Maika hits 2 Michinoku drivers for the victory. So actually, Yuna Mizumori's game plan was perfect. It was just a little moment of inexperience maybe that allowed her to to eventually suffer this loss. Again, yes, she may have lost. Yes, she may have come out empty-handed, but this was a fantastic account of herself. Showcased exactly why so many people were happy to see her qualify for this year's tournament. Really, really good. Maika, again, is in a mode at the moment where she is able to have a fantastic match with literally anyone on this roster. She's doing so well. She is a Worker of the Year candidate without a shadow of a doubt. Really, really, really good match. And they gave this away for free on YouTube. So, yeah, absolutely tremendous. Hazuki and Ruaka. Matt, I know that you were not quite as impressed with Ruaka as I am, but still quite impressed. What did you think about this outing against the People's Champion, Hazuki?
I was really worried that Ruaka was going to defeat Hazuki here as we're getting towards the end. But
so did I. Yeah, so did I.
I was like, Rob, do you remember who eliminated the People's Champion from the Cinderella tournament this past year?
Yes.
I was like, oh man, can you imagine? What a receipt. But ultimately, though, it was Hazuki. And again, it shows you how great Hazuki is. She's just, comes into this match. She does not like these former members of Oedo for, they're the big bad heel. Everybody should be everybody against the hate faction. That should be the gimmick. But she comes in blitzing Ruaka. Ruaka does a little bit cheating with their members of Hate to get the advantage. Ultimately, she tries to use the crate thing to try to cheat on Hazuki. Hazuki's having none of it, but eventually it's Ruaka hitting bomb after bomb after bomb on Hazuki. And then Hazuki counters the double choke bomb with a roll up, not the Hazuki strap, but with a roll up, which I thought was cool. Again, another great match from Ruaka. Again, I know she's in the ring with the People's Champion, the wrestling machine, Hazuki. But Ruaka really, very much like in Konami against Konami the night before, really stepped up her game here. I actually had it 3 3/4 stars. I thought it was a solid outing.
Yeah, I did. And what I did like is that the cheating that Ruaka did made sense. So as Suzuki's going for the suicide dive, just launches that crate at her to stop her hitting the suicide dive. That makes perfect sense. There was the odd bit here and there, but otherwise she does try her best to hang with Hazuki, and ultimately it just comes to a point where she can't. That counter from the Hazuki style did have me sort of, because I did genuinely think, like you, that Ruaka was going to get the victory. Now, I'm going to go into it here. Obviously, during this match, we get the chair bowling on two sides of the ring. Now, Matt, on its own, when it's isolated, I don't mind, the odd spot. However, here, back to back, we had 4 matches with members of Hate. 4 separate matches. And in all 4 matches, they started with chair bowling. 4 matches in a row. Now, if you're going to do it as a member of Hate, fine. Okay, whatever. It's happened in every single match in the tournament so far because I've been physically paying attention to it. But why would you have all of those matches in a row? It makes no sense. Surely if you are constructing this card, you would think, do you know what? These matches are all going to start in quite a similar way. Why don't we space them out? Why don't we sort of switch Azumi and Mei Seira with Momo and Tomoka Inaba? And why don't we have Hazuki and Ruaka on the YouTube pre-show as opposed to Maika and Yuna Mizumori, just to break it up? Because by the end, it got so repetitive. It was like, come on, seriously, it's every single damn match. And again, I know you're an ECW fan and, you sort of, that's fine. But can you see where I'm coming from in the fact that every match, one after another, 4 matches in a row, that's excessive.
1000% I see where you're coming from with this. Like, my 2 things on it is that's like the Hate gimmick, right? That's the thing is they go do the chair bowling, which I guess we're now going to coin phrase. Who do we owe money? Is it Armani Exchange?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll send them stickers or a shirt or something. But I totally see your point on that, and the fact that it keeps happening over and over again. My kind of positive spin on it is like that's their gimmick. And again, going to these ECW matches in the 90s, that was the coolest thing in the world because it's like, oh man, here they come. And then you're literally trying to figure out what I thought I was in row 1, seat 4, but now I'm in row 4, seat 9. because of everything's all over the place. You just have to make sure to get your merchandise after the show or intermission because God knows where that's going to be. And that was one of the many fun things about ECWs. Like these matches go all over the place, and you're literally running for your lives in a really, really fun way. So, like, to me, it was like that brought back to me when I was in high school going to those ECW shows with my friends. But I totally see your point on it. As somebody that's been in pro wrestling about half their life, I know if I'm on match day 3, right? I'm asking match 2, what's your finish? What are you doing in the match? And I'm asking match 4, what are you doing in your match? What's the finish? So this way, you're not seeing a repeat of the same thing over and over and over again. If I'm in the main event and I'm using like a brain buster and a chokehold, and match 1 or 2 is using the same, I might figure out a different way to kind of get into it, or there's enough matches to separate that. I've been on so many shows before where even the promoter or the person working Gorilla or the booker will be like, hey, match 4 is having a low blow for a small package for the finish. Nobody else is able to use a low blow. We're not doing any low blows because we want that low blow to stand out. Or, hey, match number 6 is doing a shooting star press for the finish. Nobody else is doing a top row finish because we want to make that stand out more. So the crowd's not seeing the same thing over and over and over again. Whoever is working Gorilla or putting these shows together, these matches together, they need to be like, all right, not for nothing, match 2 and 3 had people going into the crowd. I know Tomoka and Momo's probably going to have it. You guys need to cut that out. You need to cut it out. If you want to do something in the crowd, have Momo post Tomoka or have her hit her B driver onto the floor. If you need to do something on the floor for the psychology of the match, you need to stop going into the crowd because we've seen that happen 3 out of the last 4 matches. Do something else. Do something different. Do a suplex, do a body slam, do a spot on the apron, or just don't go into the crowd at all. I totally see your point. Again, not everybody has been to ECW shows in the 90s where it was the coolest thing in the world in the Northeast where ECW was running. Again, I'm probably the very few and far between that enjoy that from time to time. But I'm with you 100%. You're not the only one that said this. It's a little bit too much when you're having match after match after match going into the front row. Do something different, And again, if you're somebody that's in Gorilla, looking at these matches and putting things together, you need to be like, again, say it's Momo and Tomoka. You're not, hey, you guys going into the crowd? You're not anymore. Figure something else out to do. Again, Momo Watanabe, Tomoka Inaba, especially Momo. You're so darn talented. Take that out and do something else. I totally see your point. It's a little bit excessive, but partner, I got a feeling we're going to see at least 20 more times on these cards.
Which I don't mind. Just space it out because I'm sick of seeing it one after another. Konami and Manami I thought was an interesting matchup. It's not going to set any worlds alight by any stretch of the imagination. But I enjoyed the sort of sub-story of Konami not taking Manami seriously at all. There was no threat from Manami in Konami's eyes, and she was taking her sweet, sweet time and methodically taking her apart, which was great. And then the finish comes because Konami is literally sort of too complacent when it comes to putting Manami away. And I thought that was a really good way of having this match blocked, Matt.
Yeah, it was a really good match back and forth because, again, you have Konami. She's a great, great wrestler, and she shows it here, and then she gets into the very kind of, lack of a better term, stale Oedo type shtick. But Manami, is really explosive in her offense here. I thought she was terrific here, and I liked how this finish built where Konami's trying to, she is taking Manami too lightly, and eventually Manami makes her pay for it. But eventually Konami's like, okay, I need to go to my bag of tricks to get this win, and she starts to cheat a little bit. And then she goes to triangle answer, but folks, it only takes 3 seconds. Manami uses Konami's own, Manami and Konami, say that 10 times fast, uses her own momentum against her and is able to get the roll up for the win. I thought this was a solid match that had a really, really good finish that made sense. 3 3/4 stars for me, partner.
Yeah, overall, thought it was a really good match. One of the better Konami matches of the 3 that she had, certainly. We're not going to talk about this tag match simply because of time, like I mentioned. However, Tora destroying Tam's knee once again and again, debuting that Grand Deathlock, which is her modified figure for leg lock. Moving on to Tomoka Inaba and Momo Watanabe. This was one of the first time matchups I was most excited about. Both women hit like a train, Matt.
Yeah, I know I say this a lot when we talk about Hazuki matches, and usually a lot of this is talking off air. And I was going to text you later this day, but I believe this was Sunday, and my Sundays are just insane. I was going to joke to you that there was a rumor going around that Tomoka and Momo Watanabe are off the rest of this tournament because they got arrested for attempted murder onto each other, because that's what this match was. It started out a little slow, like they kind of like were really, really pacing. I was like, I wonder if this is going to go to the old TLD. But then about 4 or 5 minutes in, the feeling out process was over, and it was just exactly what you thought you were going to get. Bomb after bomb after bomb, kick after kick, form after form, really great stuff. I like how Tomoka is eating all these kicks from Momo and baits her into that big head kick, only for Tomoka to catch it and put Momo in the ankle lock. I thought that was great, and Momo's like facial expression was like she was selling the surprise. One, that her big head kick got blocked, and two, she gets put in this fantastic ankle lock from Tomoka. I thought that was terrific. Really good stuff how Momo was able to come back and able to lock Tomoka in the crossface chicken wing. We get back and forth to a kick exchange, and then they try to block each other's low kicks with low kicks. It's just like, oh man, and you can see both the pain on their face, where it's just like, I'm going to fight through this, because it's literally a battle of attrition. It's two warriors in there to see who can hit the hardest, who can kick the hardest, and they keep trying these low kicks on each other, and they're blocked, again, low kicks with low kicks, and you can see how much pain they're in, but they're trying not to be outdone. Part of my language, Rob, no bullshit in this match, and rightfully so. We didn't need any interference. We didn't need any spray paint. We didn't need any chair shots, anything crazy like that. It was just two warriors going out there, proving who was the best. Eventually, we get these just violent knee strikes from Tomoka Inaba that sets up her head kicks. She goes for the one-shot, one-kill. That gets countered into a B-driver, which I thought was great. Momo then hits a violent head kick for a 2 count. At this point, the crowd is really, really getting into this match and behind Tomoka, but they're really cheering on Momo as well. Momo might be at the point where we saw Starlight Kid about a year ago, where it's just going to take one angle to get her back into be one of the biggest baby faces in wrestling. Maybe that's what this tournament is doing, considering Momo's eating loss after loss after loss and really isn't cheating in these matches. Ultimately, it's the Tomoka. I like how Tomoka uses the Michinoku driver, which I believe she calls the Inaba drop, into the one-shot, one-kill penalty kick from Tomoka, how she's able to chain those two big moves, one after another, to defeat the former Wonder of Stardom champion. This was terrific. I knew this was going to be great. It was violent. It was right up my alley. 4.5 stars for me, partner.
Moving on to the semi-main event then, the second time limit draw in a row for Mei Seira. Mei Seira versus Azumi. Mei Seira having never beaten Azumi in singles competition, 0-2-1 in Azumi's favour. Again, absolutely tremendous. Friends and stablemates they might be, that doesn't mean they have to shake hands before the bell. Instead, we get a furiously impressive high-speed opening that then descends into brutal strikes. I mean, there's points where Mei Seira's drop kicking Azumi out of the air, they tease a double count, they throw it themselves into these ridiculously rapid exchanges in the ring. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, these two start out with their classic high-speed style offense, and then we see Mei and Azumi kind of throw down with some striking. And we mention all the time how Azumi's a very underrated striker. Her striking is really, really up to snuff so far in this tournament. We're really seeing a more aggressive side of Azumi, to the point where we're just like, oh yeah, we know Azumi's great. Let's depending on what happens with her in this tournament, let's give her to that push, get her that red belt shot, get her that white belt shot. She's been in Stardom for forever and a day, pretty much almost since the last 5 or 6 years or so, and she's never had a shot at either of those championship belts. It really feels like they're really grooming her to get to that next level where she can be main eventing show after show and challenging for either the Red and or Wonder of Stardom championship. I thought she was great here. She gets this insane double stomp running off the apron to the floor on poor Mei Seira. She tries to do it in the ring. We've seen this where Azumi chains these double stomps back to back. She tries to do it. Mei is able to get out of the way and hit this code breaker and this flipping blockbuster that if you blinked, you would have missed it. Just really good stuff there. Mei Seira goes for the hammerlock Liger Bomb that we have not seen from Mei Seira that often this year. And then we get several near falls back and forth. This poor referee, I felt so bad for him. He must have counted to 2 about 50 times here the last few minutes. We get the shooting star goes for our Mei Seira finally gets the advantage as we're getting towards like that 12, 13 minute mark. She gets she goes for the rolling star, but Azumi is able to stop and then stacks Mei and gets a 2.9 count. I bid on that. Azumi then goes for the Izumi Sushi. However, psychology here is genius because Mei then stacks the Izumi Sushi for a 2.9 count that I bid on. And then we go back and forth with these insane 2 counts. I liked how Izumi blocks the checkmate for the Canadian Destroyer in the last 10-15 seconds of this match, where we see the time limit draw end at the perfect time. Phenomenal match for these two. Again, the fact that we see Mei Seira, who doesn't need 15 minutes to tell her story, but gets another 15 minutes to tell her story, very much like night one. Absolutely brilliant, and I actually like this match a little bit better than her night one match. I had it at 4.5 stars for me, and these two members of Neo Genesis are absolutely crushing it, Rob Goodwin.
They certainly are, my friend. 4.25 stars from me. Again, said it all at the start of the show. Izumi, tremendous athlete. Mei Seira, one of the MVPs of this tournament, and she's not done yet. Moving on to the main event, it's an all-stars affair. Mayu Iwatani versus Saya Iida. Matt Turner, Saya Iida on the run of her life throughout this year, whether it's tagging with Hanan or whether it's singles matches against Mayu and Tam in this tournament. She obliterates the chest of Mayu with those chops. I mean, if you've seen Mayu's Twitter and Instagram, you'll see the mess of her chest. And actually, during the announcement for Sariism Chapter 5, you can still see the mess of her chest because of Saya Iida's chops. But it's not just about chops. And Saya Iida has managed to cultivate such a persona where she's so, yes, everyone knows she's heavy-handed. Yes, everybody knows that she's capable of opening up people's chests with these chops, but she's about so much more than that. And she obliterates Mayu with lariats, brain busters, those that diving shoulder tackle off the apron. Incredible stuff from her. The only thing she couldn't quite get off during this match was the Be a Master. Had she got that off, we could be looking at the surprise of the tournament. Really, really good work from Saya Iida. Mayu, of course, is Mayu on a completely different plane to most other wrestlers. And again, we've said it with Micah, Mayu is more than capable of having a 4-star match against a broom. Fantastic stuff. Phenomenal first showing of the tournament for Saya Iida. Mayu, incredible. 2 fantastic matches in a row. 4.25 stars. Loved this match.
We've been singing Saya Iida's praises quite a bit on this show. Literally the point that we were championing for her to challenge Seth Rollins at Night 2 of WrestleMania for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. That did not happen. However, Rob, we did get this phenomenal match with Mayu Iwatani. Obviously, Saya Iida, she seems like she's always been in great shape, right? But she seems like she really leaned out and took basically the Julia's tanning budget as well for this tournament. She just seems so focused. She comes in with new gear. She looks great. She looks in the best shape she's ever been in, which is saying something considering the fact that Saya Iida is always in great shape, but she seems more focused, more determined. And her first match in this tournament, she pulls not only the leader of her faction stars, but the great Mayu Iwatani. And they put this in the main event, which I was like, oh, I thought they maybe would have put Momo or Tomoka in the main event, or Izumi and Mei, but I got no problem with this being the main event because this was terrific. Saya brings it to Mayu, and Mayu does a great job making sure she puts over every single thing that Saya Iida does. And yes, she teases the Be a Master quite a bit in this match, which Mayu does a great job getting out of every single time at the last possible second for only Mayu to just eat chop after chop after chop. But eventually it's Mayu with the super kick, tombstone pile driver, and moonsault combination that puts away Saya Iida. 4.5 stars for me, my friend. I thought this was a great way to end what was a fantastic show with those 3 terrific matches with Momo, Tomoka, Mei, Izumi, and Mayu and Saya Iida. I had each of them at 4.5 stars in each match. Offered something different. Not only was I happy with the result of these matches, but I was happy the fact that I had 3 correct guesses in this night, and my bride only had 2, thus narrowing the lead from Amber at 9 and Matt Turner at 8 as we go into the double shot show.
God's sake, Amber, do you even watch wrestling? Ugh. No, really, really, really good. And I think there's always a block, whether it's the G1 Climax, whether it's the 5-star Grand Prix. There's always one block that seems to establish itself as the the match quality block, if you will. And I think we're seeing that with Red Stars B, which is unsurprising, and it's one that we highlighted as the most stacked block in terms of wrestlers right in our preview. But yes, they are proving time and time again why we were so excited by the lineup in this block. Tremendous, tremendous stuff. We moved on then to Utsun and Maya, the Light Cube Utsun and Maya, in fact, on the 12th of August for a double shot. An afternoon show and an evening show. The afternoon show was Blue Stars action. 508 people in attendance in Toshigi. Toshigi, of course, the hometown of Hanan, Hina, and Rina. And we actually had, before the show, a contract signing for the Future of Stardom Championship on August 31st between Hina and Rina, with President Taro Okada presiding. Looking at the results then from this show, four-way match, Miyu Amasaki defeated Momokoga, Rani Yagami, and Waka Tsukiyama with the Tenzai in 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Five-star Grand Prix Blue Stars A match, Starlight Kid defeated Anna Jay with the Black Tiger leg killer in 9 minutes and 49 seconds. Also, Blue Stars B, Suzu Suzuki defeated Saki Kashima with a Kish Kasai reversal in 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Blue Stars A, Xena defeated Koguma with the Thunderstruck in 9 minutes and 4 seconds. Blue Stars B, H.A.T.E versus H.A.T E, Sayaka Amatani defeated Tekla with a Spinning Star Crusher in 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Semi-main event, Blue Stars A, Saori Anou defeated Shiori with a Pottering in 12 minutes and 17 seconds. And then in your main event, Hanan defeated Risa Seira in Blue Stars B. Hanan getting the pinfall with the 17 in 13 minutes and 32 seconds. Matt, we'll start with Anna Jay's last or latest match in the 5-star Grand Prix. Different completely to that of her match with Saori Anou. A lot on the back foot here with Starlight Kid very obviously targeting the leg of Anna Jay. How do you think she did on the defensive side of things with the selling of the knee, Matt?
I thought she was really good. This match started out with some really good technical wrestling.
It really did.
Show that Anna Jay can really go hold for hold with somebody like Starlight Kid, and you're like, oh. And again, that's something that we don't really get to see too much of Anna Jay doing on AEW TV, especially the fact that it's kind of top heavy right now. AEW TV with their main eventers with Mercedes and Willow and Mina, and what they're doing with Tony and Mariah, which is just genius. Another story for another day. But I thought her technical wrestling with Starlight Kid here was great. We did see Anna Jay starting to target Starlight Kid's neck a little bit, and then we see Starlight Kid going after Anna Jay's knee. So an easy story to tell. Anna Jay's obviously trying to target Starlight Kid's neck. Her finisher is the rear naked choke that she calls the Queen Slayer. Starlight Kid, clearly she likes to use a lot of different maneuvers, but she likes to use that Black Tiger leg crusher submission or leg killer submission to basically, to submit her opponents. So it was an easy story to tell. This one went about double the amount of time that Anna Jay and Saori Anou did on night one. I thought this was terrific. I had it at 3 3/4 stars. I liked the Saori Anou match just a little bit better, but this match was really, really good. I liked how Starlight Kid, and we've seen her do this countless of times before, where if she's building towards that knee work, she'll do the splash on the knee, she'll do the moonsault on the knee, so the dragon screw leg whip. I thought that was really, really good. Anna Jay did a great job selling and able to get her emotions over to the Japanese crowd. Again, there's 2 matches for Anna Jay, and to me, there have been 2 big hits for the AEW wrestler. Great stuff. Again, 3 3/4 stars for me.
Yeah, I thought she did a really good job here, not just in matching Starlight Kid, and quite a surprising opening, really, when you consider who's in the ring. Anna Jay showcasing some really good technical wrestling, some really good chain wrestling in those arm exchanges and hammerlock exchanges with Kid, but then in selling just how much pain she's in as Starlight Kid locks in that Black Tiger leg killer, and that's the story of this match. But in contrast to the Shiori match where it's Black Tiger versus White Tiger, it's very much a case of, can Anna Jay outlast Starlight? And the answer is no. But a really, really, really good match. 3.5 stars again. 2 really, really good outings for Anna Jay. And the more she gets used to this Japanese style, the more she gets used to her opponents and things like that, I'm really excited to see what she can do. I'm really excited to see what she can do with Xena. I'm really excited to see what she can do with Syuri. So hopefully she will continue to improve, because it's only been positive stuff in terms of the Queen Slayer so far. Suzu Suzuki and Saki Kashima. There was a couple of really funny moments in this, legitimately funny. So Saki comes out with the board again, the billboard for the E-Fist of the North Star 10 game. She tries to advertise it at the start of the match. Suzu's having none of it, kicks her to the outside. But the way that Saki Kashima is advertising, gets kicked from the ring and rolls and continues to advertise the game on the outside without missing a beat was...
Commitment, Rod Goodwin. Commitment.
Honestly, it was like nothing had happened. She just instantly carried on with what she was doing, and then she tried to run off when she'd finished her shill. Brilliant. This is one of those matches where, it's a tournament match you will forget about within a week. However, it did what it needed to do. Saki Kashima, another really, really funny installment. Suzu Suzuki gets the victory. There was a great moment with the Dolphin Buster, but apart from that, we only go a shade under 5 minutes, and ultimately, Suzu Suzuki gets the victory, which is what was needed, Matt.
Yeah, again, you're going to forget about this match, in the next week or two, because of how great this tournament's been so far and how great it's going to continue to be. But for the 5 minutes that this was in front of you, it was a fun match. Ultimately, it was Suzu Suzuki able to counter the Kishi Kasai with a roll-up for a 3 count. I actually had this match wrong. I thought this would be one that Saki Cash was able to sneak away, and we'll get into the rankings between me and my wife in a little bit later. But for the 5 minutes that was in front of you, I enjoyed myself.
No chops, Matt. No chops. That is what Koguma... Honestly, when she did that, I genuinely howled. Xena, bless her, obliterates Koguma. Koguma, who spends the entire match just trying to avoid Xena's chops, it was really, really good. Ultimately, Xena gets the victory, which I think we all knew was going to happen. Ultimately, Koguma manages to get a couple of near falls, but ultimately, Xena just far, far, far too strong for Koguma. Hits a Thunderstruck for the victory.
I liked how they started out with the Kuma dance, right? And Kaguma's like, oh, I got it. Then she looks at Xena. She stopped doing the dance, and then she's like, oh, man, I'm in trouble. And the first thing that happens is that overhand chop that is just thunderous in this building, and then we're just building from there. I thought it was some really, really fun stuff. Xena pulls this full Nelson and then uses the full Nelson to hoist Koguma up and hit this really crazy high-angled German suplex. And I thought that was super impressive for Xena to do. And again, it's something we've never seen her use before. Koguma, she comes back with a German suplex of her own. Very much like Natsupoi, we don't talk about how great her German suplex is. Koguma has a great German suplex.
She does.
Kind of a 50-50. Yeah, it's really a 50-50 match, kind of back and forth there, with these two really just laying into each other. Some awesome stuff. But ultimately, Xena's able to almost deadlift Koguma up and basically do a 360, twirl Koguma's body in the air 360. No, what 360 be all the way around 180 degrees, and then lands the Thunderstruck. I thought Xena was very impressive here with their strength. I thought Koguma, when she needed to, when she was able to come in her comeback, she was really good here. I thought this was a really, really good match, a good showing for both these wrestlers. 3 3/4 stars for me.
Yeah, I did enjoy as well when Koguma is running around the outside of the ring trying desperately to avoid Xena's chops, that Xena enlists Waka Tsukiyama's help, who's at ringside, to try and cut her off at the other side of the ring. See, thinking person's wrestler, Xena. I love it. Saya Kamatani and Tekla. So, the match itself is not bad at all. I will just say that now. It's not a bad match. However, there's a couple of things. For a start, the Utsunomiya crowd, especially in the day, were very, very quiet. Even though it was the bigger crowd of the two shows, they were very, very quiet. And Matt Turner, you could hear a pin drop throughout this match. They were not feeling this match at all. And on top of that, you have just made a big song and dance about turning one of your most organic baby faces heel in Saya Kamatani. Turning her heel, adding her to this hate group that's got 845 members. And not 3 matches into a run as a heel, you have her wrestling as a babyface again. Like, what? What is going on? Yeah, I don't understand at all. I am a little bit concerned about the lack of reaction that H.A.T.E is getting, whether it's boos or whether it's cheers or whether it's, it's nothing. Like, this match was wrestled in front of silence and ordinary spots where, when wrestlers break apart and they get cheers and claps and things like that. Even that wasn't happening. It was really quite eerie how silent the crowd was for this match. And I don't know if it concerns you as much as it concerns me, Matt, but I'm starting to feel that H.A.T.E, as hot as they were when they debuted as this new faction, this sort of revamped Oedo, you've got Saya Kamatani in your ranks, how quickly they have cooled down. And it might just be me, it might just be, the odd show. I don't know what it is, but for me at least, they've cooled astronomically.
Considering the fact that this faction is only 2 or 3 weeks old, obviously there's a lot. They made this big faction right before the 5-star, right? And again, we made mention that one thing we don't want is all this insane interference to take away from the matches. And for the most part, they're not, especially in the Momo matches, we're not getting that. So it's like you don't know, if they're going to kind of pull back a little and then go full into all of the cheating and stuff and whatnot after the 5-star. We don't know. Again, remains to be seen. We're going to take what's given to us and go from there. I see your points. As far as this match goes, and I'm glad I didn't watch this match live because everyone's telling me how bad this match was, which it wasn't. I'll tell you right now, for an actual wrestling match, bell to bell, I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was a terrific wrestling match. But considering the fact that you have Saya Kamatani, and again, we were so against her heel turn that you're literally 3 matches in, and she wrestles like Saya Kamatani. That's why I got 4 stars. Tekla's fantastic. She's great in her role at H.A.T.E. If anybody is the most over person getting the most out of this group, it's Tekla. She's doing a terrific job. Saya Kamatani, it's almost like this match ended, and I was like thinking to myself, the two of these, Tekla and Saya Kamatani, they're probably putting their match together, and whoever was agenting the match or they went to whoever. I'm like, hey, what do you want from this match? Like, what are you looking to get out? And as a wrestler, that's what you want. Hey, what's the story you want me to convey? What's the story you want me to get over? They're probably just like, hey, we just need you to go out there and bell to bell give us the best match possible. And Saya Kamatani's like, well, if you want me to do that, I need to be Saya Kamatani, because Saya Kamatani was goddamn Saya Kamatani in this match. She was terrific. She was the Golden Phoenix, big baby face Saya Kamatani. Tekla was great here as well. This was a terrific wrestling match. But I'm supposed to be booing Saya Kamatani, who not only was wrestled as the Golden Phoenix, big baby face that we love so much, Saya Kamatani, but anytime Tekla was in trouble, it was Tora and Ruaka that either distracted the referee or put some heat on Saya Kamatani. So you're like, wait a minute, this is the person that we recruited into this group, and now we're kind of turning on her like 2 weeks later? Didn't make sense. Not only that, but again, how can you boo Saya Kamatani's moveset, again, as the Golden Phoenix? Now, Rob and everybody out there in podcast land that's listening, watch your feet, because I'm about to drop a name. I was very fortunate to be on a show with the late, great Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Whoa,
one of my
what?
Tricks, yes. Oh, I probably told you the story where he was so nice to me. So nice to me that, and again, I know we're pressed for time here, but I would always have this trick if I was in the locker room, and a lot of it was Ring of Honor, because they would, first of all, everybody in Ring of Honor was a star, and they bring in like the Mick Foleys, the Dusty Rhodes, the Jim Cornettes, the Ricky Steamboats, and for some reason or another, if my chair in the locker room was kind of by them, I would put my earphones or my headphones in and make it look like I was listening to music, but I had the volume turned all the way down, and I was just listening to what they were saying. I forget who was in the match, but I know it was Ring of Honor, and I was next to Bobby Heenan, but it was either like Azrael or Deranged or Jack Evans, one of those high flyers that was a heel at the time, that did this crazy springboard thing to the outside and got a huge pop. And Bobby Heenan said, that was awesome, but that person's supposed to be the heel. How am I supposed to be able to boo that? Saya Kamatani does her picture-perfect springboard plancha to the crowd. How am I supposed to boo that? Tekla, Ruaka, and Tora are cheating this entire match to get Tekla the advantage. Tekla brings out all the chairs. Saya Kamatani hits his brutal Star Crusher onto the chairs, throws Tekla in the ring, and hits a beautiful 360 spinning Star Crusher. How am I supposed to be booing that? That's all great Saya Kamatani stuff. Again, maybe that this was it because it was hate versus hate, and they're like, we'll just have Tekla be the heel because she knows how to be a heel, and we'll have Saya be the babyface because she knows how to be a babyface. And let's get the best match out of this possible. To me, that's what they did. Because if this is Saya Kamatani's moveset that she's going to be doing each and every match, as far as the match quality goes, it's going to be great. Saya Kamatani, but I'm not booing Saya Kamatani. She was a great babyface here. And I think the reason why she got no reaction and this match got no reaction, because very much like everybody else watching this match, they were very confused. Like, what am I supposed to be booing? What am I supposed to be cheering? What's going on here? I thought Saya is supposed to be this heel, but now she wrestles as a babyface. The match, again, from the psychology that standpoint, is confusing. But again, if the two of them are like, hey, let's go down and tear down the house, Tekla's going to do what Tekla does. We're going to have Saya do what she did when she was Wonder Champion. And we're going to have a great match. Again, great match, 4 stars, but everybody's really confused on where we're going with Saya Kamatani.
It's 4 stars, but for the wrong reasons, which is a little bit of an issue, I feel. Because you want a 4-star match with great heel psychology. And what we got was a babyface heel dynamic between two of supposedly your most hated heels. Very, very bizarre booking. Really, really bizarre booking. And what made me laugh was Natsuko Tori's trying to distract the referee from Tekla beating up Saya Kamatani, and he's staring straight at it. Like, it doesn't matter that Natsuko Tori is trying to distract him. He knows what's going on. There's no way he doesn't know what's going on. It's always been something that has always made me laugh. But anyway, that being said, let's move on. Then we had Saya Kamatani versus Tekla. We moved on to the semi-main, Saori Anou versus Saori. Just back to some really good 5-star wrestling. Really, really good. 2 wrestlers that have got tremendous chemistry. One wrestler that likes to beat people up. One person that sells it like she's been hit by a boat. Really, really good stuff. And most importantly, both women are at 2 points at the moment with 1 win and 1 loss. But a tiebreaker against Saori could prove to be incredibly important at the end of the blocks for Saori Anou.
Yeah, this was great. This was one of the matches I was looking forward to the most, and this really, really delivered. I thought this was great stuff where you have Shuri again. She's trying to use her striking and her submissions against Saori Anou. But Saori Anou, she can bring it. We know that she can take a butt-kicking and come back. We've seen in the matches with Mirai. We've saw in that match with Julia, night 1 of last year's 5-star Grand Prix. Saori Anou is not one to shy away of getting beat up in order to inflict damage. And that's basically what this was. And Saori Anou does a great job baiting Shuri into she basically eats all these kicks from Shuri to ultimately her end goal is to catch one of those kicks for the dragon screw and then to start working over Shuri's arm with the knee bars and the figure 8, which I thought was great. Saori Anou then does a corner dragon screw, which I think is great. Shuri's able to come back with the STO that leads into an arm bar. We get a forearm trade-off. Then we get a kick exchange between the two. Some really good stuff back and forth. Saori Anou is able to hit the perfect plex with the Shuri on the second rope. Eventually, these two go back and forth. Saori Anou gets the advantage. She goes to the top rope, but Shuri says, oh, no, not just yet. Shuri is able to weather the storm of Saori Anou and hit that top rope double wrist lock, which I thought was terrific. And then Shuri's just building and building and building. We've seen this before, where it's bomb after bomb after bomb. Saori Anou is kicking out. However, when she's kicking out, it's basically Shuri's like, that's okay, because I got more in the arsenal, and I'm just going to just beat you down until you can't take it anymore. However, Saori Anou just had just a little bit left, Rob, to escape the Vermilion World into the Potter Ring for the 3 count. Great storytelling and a great match from 2 fantastic wrestlers. 4 1/4 stars for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, I think it was such a great sort of cherry on top of what was a fantastic cake in terms of the match itself. That counter from the Vermilion World into the Pottering was so beautifully executed. It really was an accent on what was a fantastic match. Hanan and Risa Sera. First of all, really good to see Hanan in the main event in her hometown. Thought that was fantastic. Thought this was overall a very, very good match. Really strange finish. And I know we talked about this on our alternate commentary yesterday. There was a moment where Mei Seira had to take a step back, basically from the match, where she walked to the outside into the crowd to get a drink of water, and Daichi Moriyama actually had to go and have a word with her and just check she was okay. And the finish came pretty much straight after that. She was also pulled from a match in Diana as well, which I didn't realise on, was it Monday? No. I can't remember. She was definitely pulled from a Diana event as well, though, and was taken to hospital as a precaution. So whether it was dehydration or whether it was just, a sudden bout of illness or what it was, it certainly, for me, sort of coloured the end of this match simply because I was more concerned about Mei Seira. Really good victory for Hanan, a really solid victory for Hanan, and Mei Seira doing the promo at the end where she says at 20 years old, you're already a star, I thought was a really important moment for Hanan as well in her hometown, Matt.
Yeah, again, I know we talked about this off air and when we did our alternate commentary that, Mei Seira wasn't sure what happened there. Really wasn't sure what happened. Obviously, you need to err on the side of caution, but I didn't know she was pulled from another show this week. So obviously, we'll have our ear to the ground to see what's going on with Mei, and hopefully it's nothing serious. And if it is, obviously she would need some time off to heal herself whenever's going on. But regardless, this match was great. It had a little bit of everything. It had started out with some really great technical wrestling. You're basically building blocks for the match. Eventually, we do get some stuff on the outside. We get some high-impact offense with Mei Seira's forearms and Hanan with those great European uppercuts. Eventually, the match spills back out to the floor. Han hits a famouser onto the floor, and then she follows up with a dive. Two of them go back and forth with Mei Seira eventually getting the advantage with the pendulum swing and an air raid crash for a 2 count. Mei Seira then just starts pouring on the offense with those double knees, with the slingshot double knees and the second rope double knees. She likes to use those quite a bit to set up for her finishes. We do see Mei Seira trying to hit some of her bigger bombs like the sit-out DVD and the Kryptonite Crunch, but the air raid crash, whatever you want to call it. But Han is able to get out of some of these moves, and then she teases the 17 roll-up, which I like. I'm like, oh, that would have been a good spot to finish it. But eventually Risa kicks out, or she was able to stack Han up and able to get out there. Some really good stuff there. Eventually, the Mei Seira hits the sit-out DVD for a 2 count. Hanan is able to slip out of the air raid crash and trip up Risa, going back to the 17 roll up for the 3 count. Great match, great psychology, great build, easy match to follow. 4.25 stars for me, my friend.
And with that, that brings us to an end of the Blue Stars. We move to the evening.
Well, not yet, Rob. It's the most important part here.
Oh my God,
Amber,
how could I forget?
Amber got 4 right, and I got 3 right. So now, going into this last show, Amber 13, Matt Turner at 11.
Matt, do you even watch Stardom? What is going on, my friend?
I've seen a match or two, buddy. I've seen a match or two.
Oh, fuming. Moving on then to the afternoon show. As I mentioned, we are back in Utsun and Maya, 410 in attendance, so quite a significant drop between the afternoon and the evening. Red Stars in action, and the results are as follows. Natsupoi in Red Stars A defeated Yuna Mizumori with a cross armbar in 11 minutes and 33 seconds. Red Stars B, Azumi versus Tomoka Inaba ended in a double countout in 12 minutes and 47 seconds. Red Stars A, Konami defeated Hazuki with her ripcord knee strike in 9 minutes and 39 seconds. The God's Eye team, Lady C and Hina, defeated the H.A.T.E team of Nads, Katora and Rina. Hina getting a pin over Rina with the modified jackhammer in 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Red Stars B, Mei Seira defeated Momo Watanabe with the Shooting Star in 10 minutes and 36 seconds. Red Stars A, Manami versus Ruaka ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. And then in your main event, Red Stars B, Saya Iida defeating Tam Nakano with the Iidabashi in 13 minutes and 52 seconds. A really good show overall, Matt. But to start with, having again this match on the YouTube pre-show, Yuna Mizumori and Natsupoi, really, really, really good match to as an advert for this show.
Yeah. Rob, what was the time on this Natsupoi Yuna match? I'm sorry, I missed that.
11 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah, again, Yuna we said when we did our 5-star primer last week that she's not going to eat, or she's going to be eating a lot of L's. However, she's going to be getting a lot of big matches. And this one would not disappoint very much like the Mike match was no different. Remember, a terrific match here where you have speed versus power, two members of the same faction. Excellent start here with Yuna really getting out of this match on the right foot. It was really punishing the Wonder of Stardom champion with her high pace and high intense offense with the clotheslines and the shoulder tackles. But eventually, it's Natsupoi breaking Yuna Mizumori down on the arm. Again, Yuna likes to use her power, likes to use those lariats. Natsupoi, we've seen, is able to adopt some of those submissions. Really good stuff there from Natsupoi that she basically uses that arm work to set up a lot of her offense. Natsupoi's kicks and her strikes are really, really good here. But ultimately, though, it's Natsupoi with the German suplex and that cartwheel armbar for the tap out. I had it 3.5 stars. Great match from these two wrestlers. Great way to start the show.
Moving on then, Azumi and Tomoka Inaba, a really explosive way, really, to start this show. We've gone from Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori to a double count out between Azumi and Tomoka Inaba. Really, really, really good work from these two. Again, we talk about Azumi, we talk about Tomoka Inaba, but the chemistry that these two have together, tremendous. Really, really, really good. Azumi obviously working that arm. Inaba continuing to work the leg as she did against Mei Seira. Really, 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 really good match.
Yeah, this is solid stuff. This might have been the first match that me and my wife actually watched together from Stardom, start to finish. Because we just got done eating dinner, which was fantastic, by the way. And I was like, hey, I'm going to watch the rest of this show. Now my wife has an added interest into this tournament because she is very competitive, as you know, Rob Goodwin. So she sat down with me at the end of the Natsupoi match, and I was like, oh, this match is going to be really, really good. And my wife has not seen a lot of Stardom over the last year or so she really doesn't know too much of Mei Seira. She knows next to nothing about Tomoka Inaba, but whenever she was doing her pick, she's like, who's this Tomoka Inaba? I'm like, she's fantastic. She works the style that I like really well. Obviously, I was really looking forward to this match. There's a part in this match where they both hit head kicks and they go down and the crowd starts clapping. I literally stood up in my living room and I started clapping because I'm like, oh man, this match is absolutely fantastic. There's so many great stuffs here with a lot of really good counters with Tomoka going for the Inaba drop, but it gets countered into the numero uno. We do see that then after the numero uno, we see Azumi starting to build up the arm work. She goes for the double stomp. Somehow that gets countered into a Tomoka Inaba cross arm breaker. I have no idea how that's humanly possible. Just some excellent stuff here. We get a top rope fight between the two. Eventually, the two of them crash down on the apron. Azumi hits the apron hurricanrana. The double head kick on the outside eventually leads to the double count out. I love this match, and really as this match was getting into like 4.5 to 4 3/4 stars rating, it goes to a double count out. I understood the double count out with Suzu and Hanan. Again, I mentioned it, about an hour or so ago when we reviewed that match. This one I kind of just didn't understand, but this is what Stardom wanted. I would have rather this match go to the time limit draw and then maybe Ruaka and Manami go to the double count out. I would have switched that up if we really needed to go to a draw. That's what I would have done there. Regardless, 4.25 stars. I really hope Tomoka Inaba signs with Stardom full time, because this is a match that everybody would love to see get run back. Tomoka is doing a great job in this tournament. Azumi's really starting to set herself apart as far as main event level goes. I mean, we've seen it that she's ready. She's ready for that wonder shot. She's ready for that red belt shot. And this tournament is just going to prove just how great that she is. Again, this match was terrific. 4.25 stars from me, partner. I do want to just make aware, as I made Rob aware before we hit the record button, and about 2 minutes, I have to take care of something. So obviously, we do not want to rush through the rest of these matches. So I'm going to have to tag Rob in for maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. So he's going to have to do this thing solo. So if you hear me go in and out, folks, I apologize, but about 2 minutes, I kind of have to leave, but I'll probably come back in about 2 or 3 minutes. But partner, what was your rating in this match?
This was 4.25 stars again from me. Again, these three, Azumi, Tomoka Inaba, and Azumi, have all sort of worked really well together, and the fact that we have 3 time limit draws or double count out draws between them really does show that where the Stardom brass sort of see these three women sort of on a level with each other. I would love to see Tomoka Inaba signed to a full-time contract. She's been booked so well in this tournament. Yes, I agree that potentially this is the one that doesn't make the most sense in terms of booking draws. However, I'm willing to accept it because this was such a good match. And maybe that's just me being a glutton for punishment, but that's just me. Konami and Hazuki, Matt. I know that you like this match.
I'm going to try to get my review in about 60 seconds before I have to jump off. But I like this match at the start because of the violence. It was forearm for forearm. It was strike for strike. Konami's a phenomenal, hard-hitting wrestler. And Hazuki's Hazuki. Again, she's the people's champion. She's the Stardom cast champion for life, right? So really excellent stuff with the two of them going back and forth with the strikes and like the big high-impact moves that Hazuki does. Only for like literally once. Like you get a great kick exchange. You get a German suplex, a code breaker, a crossface. And then the box comes in, Ruaka's milk crate box. And it literally goes from a match that I'm like, okay, this is 4 to 4.5 stars. Easy. And then once the cheating starts, it just gets so bad and it goes off the cliff. So I held it at the 4 stars mark. A little bit too much interference, way too much with the spray paint. Got all over Hazuki's face, all over her gear. And even though you couldn't see Hazuki's face, as she's selling and going to the outside, you can just see how disgusted that she is. And hopefully this is a match they run back where Konami gets her coming ups and Hazuki just puts the beating onto Konami. Again, I enjoyed the match for what it was, but once it got to the cheating, it was a little bit too much for me. 4 stars for me, folks. And again, I apologize, folks. I have to tag out for a few minutes. Rob Goodwin, it is all on you, and I will let you know when I'm back, brother.
Genuinely, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, I do really have to doubt Mr. Turner's commitment to the Stardom cast. No, I'm only joking. But in terms of this match, this really epitomizes why I feel the way that I feel about Konami, because the opening exchanges of this match were great. We had the suplex on the outside, we had the kicks, we had Konami literally torturing Hazuki at one point with a wide array of submissions, kicking out the bad arm on repeated occasions. But the moment that the match hit a point, and Matt sort of alluded to this on his review as well, the moment the match hit that point of sort of going into another gear, what we got was descending into cheating. And again, cheating done right, it can add something to the match. It can help you sort of, the reaction to a heel that Stardom want is, I can't wait for them to see them get their comeuppance. Oh, I'm so frustrated. But actually what I'm getting, and this might just be me, and I completely get that. With Konami, and it's only because I know that she is so good in ring, and I know what she's capable of. There was the tournament in 2021 where she was an absolute killer, and I remember matches against Mayu Iwatani, against Julia, where she just destroyed people's arms. That's the Konami I know that we get. And when she resorts to this really paint-by-numbers cheating that gets no reaction and doesn't really make much sense, because if you are to look at the crate from Ruaka, which is a ridiculous thing to have, and we laugh about it on a repeated basis, at least you can get rid of the evidence. You look at the chair, you can get rid of it. You can get rid of the evidence. Tora's pipe, get rid of the evidence. Konami sprays Hazuki's face. What does the referee think has happened? And if you are to suspend your disbelief for a moment that the referee misses all of the interference, what does he think has happened to Hazuki's face? I mean, don't get me wrong, she's a very tanned individual, but she has a completely different coloured face than she did before the referee bump. And that's where the spray paint is a rather silly thing to have. But the problem is that because we know what such a good wrestler Konami is, we just know that it's going to descend into this paint by numbers, a weirdo tie shenanigans is that it's met with apathy, and that's literally the one reaction you want to steer well clear from in terms of your heels. And that's why I was so worried about the Saya Kamatani and Tekla match, because it was met with apathy. And that's actually Tekla, who's a very good heel, and Saya Kamatani, who is supposed to be heel and wrestled as a babyface. That's what really annoys me about this Konami match, because actually her and Hazuki are telling a very good story, and Konami is wrestling as a heel by trying to hurt Hazuki as much as is possible. She doesn't need to do the cheating. She doesn't need to use the spray paint. But nevertheless, we do have that, and of course that's after we've had the chair bowling at the start, because it's a hate match. Therefore, we obviously have to have that. I'm
back, buddy. I'm back. I don't know how long, but I'm back for where are we at, brother? Where are we at? Fill me in. You talking about wrestling?
We are talking about wrestling, specifically this thing called the 5-Star Grand Prix. No, I was just I was talking about how, in terms of weapons, how ridiculous the spray paint is, because with things like chairs and pipes, you can get rid of the evidence. But are we supposed to suspend disbelief that the referee gets hit and comes to, and Hazuki has a completely different coloured face? Like, what does he think has happened? Like, what?
Not Halloween yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just said, I know Hazuki is a tanned individual, but she has a completely different coloured face. Anyway, it's the problem that I have with it is that it's eliciting a feeling of apathy in me. And I think Konami could be an effective heel by just trying to hurt someone, by wrestling that aggressively, like she did in the 2021 tournament. Was it 2021 or was it 2020? Now I've said that. One of those two tournaments where she just wrestled so aggressively that she was a legitimate threat. That would be a more convincing heel pathway to go down than just, right, I've wrestled a bit, the ref's taken a bump, let's get out the spray paint. Because again, we talked about it with the turning of heels and, the shock turns. It's the law of diminishing returns. The more you do it, the less of a reaction it's going to get. And that's why Tekla's such a good heel, because she does different things. And that's what Konami could learn a lot from. We are moving on then to Mei Seira and Momo Watanabe. What I love about this match is there's such a size disparity between the two wrestlers that this match is solely about Momo Watanabe inflicting as much pain as is humanly possible on Mei Seira, and it feels legitimate. Because Mei Seira is only I think she's something like 4'11" or 4'10", and she's only slightly built. Momo Watanabe is like a juggernaut in comparison. So every time she hits a kick, every time she hits a power move, every time she hits a Samato, the drop kick in the corner, it feels so impactful, and it raises that support for Mei Seira. And you're absolutely right, Matt. There's no real cheating going on from Momo Watanabe, yet she feels like a heel because of the way she's wrestling. She's wrestling trying to hurt Mei Seira. That's a heel, and you're actually still appreciative of what she can do, and you want to see Mei Seira win. It's ticks in every boxes. And overall, I thought this match was really, really, really well done. Works really well as well that the finish is Momo going for the Peach Sunrise and Mei Seira rolling through with the victory out of absolutely nowhere. Because again, similar to Konami and Manami, Momo Watanabe was just a little bit too complacent, didn't take Mei Seira seriously enough, and twice it has taken H.A.T.E. It's taken 2 points off members of H.A.T.E. I thought it was really well done, this match.
That finish, I have no idea how Mei Seira, she turned her body three different ways.
Completely agree.
I was holy.
It's like the fairy blink. I still cannot work out how that works. Physically, I don't understand the physics of that move.
There's some wrestler in Tokyo Joshi Pro that does this move called the whirling candy. I know that you've seen it because it's all over the internet.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Does a body press, and then she catapults off said person's chest and does 720. Anywho, just insane. I mean, this match was great. I had it at 4.25 stars, but I actually bumped it up, Rob, to 4.5 stars because of how great the finish was executed. Not only for Mei to be able to do that, but you need to be a good base for all that stuff. You need to be a good base to be able to maneuver your body and the person's body in the right way. And Momo Watanabe is absolutely perfect here. Like the way she sold it, the way she helped Mei transition to it, actually bumped it up to 4.5 stars for me. But yeah, this was great. It was basically speed versus strength. Very much like we've been seeing with Sherry with the strikes. Momo Watanabe, she's very good when it comes to the strikes. So you do see in this match that Momo Watanabe, once she's able to finally kind of get the timing down to Mei Seira, and Momo's great against these high-speed wrestlers. We've seen her have great matches with Starlight Kid. I've seen her great matches with, obviously, Izumi, and this is no different here with Mei Seira. It just really just goes to show you how great Momo Watanabe is as a true professional wrestler. She's able to work all these different styles, whether it's straight-up wrestling, whether it's the hardcore style, whether it's tag wrestling, whether it's artist wrestling, and we now know that she can work with these high-speed wrestlers. But this is really, really great stuff here. I think Sarah was able to hit this really great German suplex. I like where she does the German suplex to try to get into the checkmate. However, Momo blocks the checkmate for the Inhuman driver. Momo misses a head kick, and Mei gets a roll-up for 2.9 count, which I totally bid on. Momo Watanabe hits the Tequila Sunrise and then goes for the Peach Sunrise, the combination that we know that she's won so many matches with. However, she blocks the Peach Sunrise into this most insane roll-up. Again, I have no idea how she did it. This match was great. The fact they only went 10 minutes and told such a great story. 4.5 stars for me. And even though Momo Watanabe's 0-3, each and every match that she's had has been nothing short of terrific. And again, she's doing next to no cheating in these matches. The only little cheating that happened was on night one when Izumi went for that Rana off the apron, and Momo caught her, and then Kunami kicked Izumi. But it wasn't Momo that was trying to cheat, it was Kunami. So I like how Kunami's doing this stuff on the outside. A little less of the spray paint, as we just said. But Momo is wrestling very aggressive as a heel, that when you're wrestling this aggressive style and it's getting over, eventually it only takes one thing to turn it into a baby face. Is Momo going to be a baby face by the end of the year? I don't know, buddy. But the way that Momo is 0-3, has done no cheating in these matches, tells me that there's something up. They have a story there, and I hope they follow through with it. Regardless, brother, again, great match, 4.5 stars for me.
Moving on then to the semi-main event. Oh, sorry, the main event. No, the semi-main. I was right. Manami and Ruaka going to a time limit draw. Right. Positives. This was a very good match. Okay, I am just going to say this now. I'm going to continue my praise for Ruaka, who, again, has been wrestling her actual matches with minimal cheating. Yes, she's been cheating on the outside with other wrestlers, and yes, there's been the odd instance of cheating, but actually in the matches themselves, there's been minimal cheating, and I'm wondering if it's because Ruaka thinks she can beat Manami. So she tries to wrestle Manami to prove that she can beat her. And actually, as this match gets more and more desperate, you can see that etched into the face of Ruaka. I can get my first ever 5-star Grand Prix victory right now. I just need to keep Manami down. And actually, these two have really good chemistry. Do I think Ruaka, and I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, do I think that Ruaka has the capability to wrestle a 15-minute singles match, a compelling 15-minute singles match? No, not yet. However, I think it showcases her improvement that we are getting closer to that, because I would argue this is a great 13-minute match stretched out over 15, Matt.
Yeah, again, sometimes you want to try new things. Manami she's had 2 great matches on, the first 2 nights of this tournament, and we're in there with Ruaka. Again, Ruaka's a wild card. We mentioned it before because she's replacing Tora and didn't qualify for the tournament. So it's like, let's give Ruaka, again, this show is only 7 matches. It's not your 10, 12, 14-minute shows. Basically, you're looking at, hey, let's try something. Let's see if Ruaka can go 15 minutes. I'm not going to say that it was a home run, but it wasn't a strikeout either. It was a solid single. This is Ruaka's probably her longest singles match she's ever had. And we go to the old TLD with it. So it's like, yeah, it's something we tried. You don't know if you can get there until you give it a shot. I totally agree with you. If this was an 11 or 12-minute match, I think it would have been a little bit better. I think the last 2 or 3 minutes kind of just drag it out a little, and it was kind of getting a little tiresome. Regardless, these 2 wrestlers put on a heck of an effort. I had that 3.5 stars, but what I would have done, and I understand, hey, we want to see if these 2 wrestlers can go the distance. I would have taken the draw between Azumi and Tomoka. I would have made that 15 minutes, and I would have had this one go to the double count out at 11 or 12 minutes. That's just me.
Agreed.
But I get what we're trying. You have to try new things. You never know what's going to stick. At the same time, if we want to get Ruaka and if we want to get Manami, if Manami's going to come back, which I would love for Manami to come back because I'm so impressed with her. If we want them to get better, we need to have them have longer matches in order to be able to get there. So I got no problem with that. Again, I would just I think everybody agrees with me. We would just love to see Tomoka and Azumi wrestle forever. Maybe that's the point I'm trying to get. Regardless, really good stuff. 3.5 stars for me, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's really nice to see Ruaka finally get at least one 5-star Grand Prix point in her 12th 5-star Grand Prix match. And again, I want to make it clear to everyone, should I say, that I'm being very positive about Ruaka. I had no expectations for her in the tournament at all. I was dismissive completely of her matches and didn't really want to watch them. And actually, I think she's done tremendously well. So I suppose on that side of things, having her in the 5-star Grand Prix has been a success. Because, she's having to wrestle these singles matches. She's not cheating, so she's having to utilize more of her moveset, more of her storytelling, those sorts of things. And we're seeing an improvement as a result. So do you know what? Fair play. Would I rather have seen Tora in this tournament? 1,000%. Absolutely. Not only is she the red belt champion, but she's also a vastly underrated wrestler, as proved in the tag match with Meltier. However, we have Ruaka. We can't change that. And actually, I think she's done really quite well. As I said at the start of the tournament, I much prefer Ruaka's matches to Konami's matches. Probably personal preference, but there we are. Moving on to the main event of the fourth show then, Saya Iida getting the victory over Tam. It does appear, Matt, that we are going to be making this Nia story. It does appear that Tam is going to have to fight through the pain as she heads towards what will inevitably be at least a quarterfinal, I would have thought. But I did love the way that Saya Iida, she did target the knee, but she did it in such a different way, lariating the knee from underneath Tam. It was such a cool visual because it's such a different impact to the other way. Like, Mayu utilized the dragon screw leg whips. Tora utilized the grand deathlock and a chair. Saya Iida using those lariats, completely different impact, and it was such a cool visual, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really simple storytelling where Saya Iida is just being so aggressive, attacking Tam's knee. Again, that knee that she had to vacate the World of Stardom Championship for last year, and the fact that knee has been a problem ever since really Tora has been targeting it. Mayu targeted it on the main event of night one. Saya Iida kind of did the same, and there were some really great exchanges with these two. With Tam just like, knee be damned, like, I need to get a win here. I can't go down 0-2. I'm one of the favorites in this tournament. I need to get my red belt back. And she's just fighting through the pain. There's some violent exchanges, like with the chops and slaps and forearms and just violent shootings, and just some really, really good stuff here where it's just like Saya Iida is just so relentless on Tam, and Tam is just showing so much fighting spirit here, especially towards the end, that ultimately, though, Saya Iida is able to use the knee damage, basically build upon it, and is able to get surprise Tam with the Iidabashi for a 3 count. Great stuff here. I mean, what they're doing with Tam very much might be what they're doing with Julia, what they did with Julia 2 years ago, where Julia ate the L in night 1 and night 2, only to come back and get the win. But considering the fact that the brackets are much smaller, there's only 7 people in each bracket, where in 2022 there was like the entire roster plus some outsiders, which again, 2022 is the greatest 5-star ever in my opinion, so I'm not complaining. But at the same time, Tam cannot eat another L. I think if she eats one more L, I think she might be mathematically out of this tournament. I think Momo Watanabe as well. I think Momo has to win every single match in order for her to advance. I think somebody said it's mathematically impossible for Momo and Tam to both make the quarterfinal. So that makes it really, really interesting, because I know a lot of people had Momo and or Tam to make the quarterfinal. So you kind of wonder who those two wrestlers are going to be to get in. I still think it's going to be Tam. I had Tam and Mayu, so I'm sticking with that. But it's a really, really interesting story. Saya Iida getting 2 main events in the 5-star Grand Prix, going toe-to-toe with Mayu, and then beating the former World of Stardom champion, and Tam Nakano. Iida is another one to look out for, between now and the end of the year, my man. Great stuff, 1.25 stars. Great way to end the show. And Rob Goodwin, before I forget, as you can hear me flicking through the pages, I have to go all the way back. Okay. So it was, oh boy, we did not do good on this night at all. Amber got 2 points. I got 1. So as we go into Korakuen Hall, Amber 15, Matt Turner 12.
Wow, you really are struggling on this, Matt, aren't you?
I might be Tam, and I might have to do my big comeback at the end.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have to. I mean, I am one of the people that I believe in our primer did predict both Tam and Momo going through. So, this is why, ladies and gentlemen, as we always say on this podcast, never trust us when it comes to predictions. We will always let you down. We will always disappoint. Matt Turner, before we get into our show previews, which will exclusively be the Korakuen Hall show, and before I go through the block standings as they stand, do you want to take a little trip to Io and Kairi watch?
Take a little trip into the sky with the Sky Pirates of Io and Kairi. It does look like that Dakota Kai is going to be out for about 8 to 10 weeks, and we know that Asuka is still battling a knee injury. So just damage control is just our beloved Io and Kairi. And I think the way they have everything set up with Io and Kairi makes sense. They are in a number 1 contenders match this past week on Monday Night Raw against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, that are now known as the Pure Fusion Collective or something like that. Pat McAfee called them the Shooters last week, 2 weeks ago on Raw. I think they should have just been called the Shooters. But regardless, now the winner of this match gets a title shot against the current tag team champions, which is Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Alba Fire, Rob Goodwin, is somebody you may know was once Kay Lee Ray, just repackaged. So, and there is a reason why I'm telling you that. So, you always give me the trivia. I'm gonna give you a little trivia at the end of this Io and Kairi watch.
Intriguing.
So, Fire and Dawn, they come out. Because they are the number 1 contenders, they come out first, and they are doing commentary. They're just doing a little scouting. So, Io and Kairi, and again, I think this is genius booking. We all want Io and Kairi to be in the main event, right? We would love to see the two of them wrestle for the Raw Women's Championship or the SmackDown Women's Championship for like 3-4 years. We would love to see that, but this is WWE. This is the land of entertainment. And right now, the current storyline going on with Rhea Ripley with Damian Priest versus Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan is really, really good, and it's really, really entertaining. So I like how we're going to keep Io and Kairi out of that main picture because there's really nothing for them to do there, and we're putting them as a tag team because we know these two are great together. And if you're going to try to dispute that, watch this match, because Io and Kairi start this match out with some phenomenal double teaming. I had shades of Thunder Rock, the way that they were doing some of their double team moves on Shayna Baszler, which I thought was really, really good. Some excellent double teaming, though, coming back with Shayna and Zoe Stark. They start building some heat on Kairi, working over Kairi's back. Rob, this match wasn't long, but they're building the heat on Kairi, and Kairi's such a great seller, and Io is so over that they're only maybe a minute into the heat, and everyone's chanting Io, Io, Io. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great, because we know that very much like Starlight Kid, you're kind of Io, and Damage Control was just one storyline away of turning them babyface, and here they are, and they're over as babyfaces. Again, how am I booing Kairi with that insane elbow? How am I booing Io with that moonsault? Hey, Bobby Heenan said it. Who am I to disagree? And he makes a point. Io comes in and everybody gets the Showtime palm strikes. We get some more teamwork with Io and Kairi. Io does Mato into the corner, which is now called the Bullet Train, which I really, really like. Eventually, the action spills out to the outside. Kairi hits Shayna Baszler with a cutlass. Zoe Stark goes to super kick Kairi. Kairi gets out of the way, and she accidentally super kicks Alba Fire, also known as Kay Lee Ray, who is an innocent bystander, just trying to watch the match, trying to do a little scouting. Eventually, the match gets back in the ring. We get some great double teamwork onto Shayna Baszler. Onto Zoe Stark. Io hits the perfect moonsault onto Zoe Stark before the ref can count to 3. Fire and Dawn come in and beat up everybody, causing the double disqualification. Thus, next week, Rob Goodwin, we have a triple threat match for the Tag Team Championship, as it's Fire and Dawn defending against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark and Io and Kairi. So excellent match. Again, it was a little too short, but I understand what you're trying to do. And I like the fact that we're establishing Io and Kairi as a tag team. And you really can establish the women's tag team division because you got a lot of really good tag teams as far as the women division goes in WWE. Now, Rob Goodwin, are you ready for your trivia question?
I'm always ready for trivia, my friend. Always.
So, in this match next week that I just hyped up, you have 6 wrestlers that are in this match. What do Shayna Baszler, Kairi, and Kaylee Ray have in common as far as it comes to Stardom?
Sorry, who were the 3 again? Shayna Baszler,
Kairi, and Kaylee Ray.
They've all challenged for the Wonder of Stardom Championship.
You're so close. Not Wonder.
Oh, I meant World. I meant the red belt.
Not only did they challenge, they all ate L's in that phenomenal Io run when she had the championship. So I was like, oh, how about that? Io's going to be directing traffic. Yeah, those are all people that Io did defeat in that legendary run, her second run as the World of Stardom champion. So that was Io and Kairi watch. Again, I'm really excited. Io and Kairi, they're baby faces. They've been baby faces to us all along. But the fact that they're going to be constant tag team, hopefully, WWE's never been really big on the tag division. The 40 years I've been watching WWE, they never really put a focus on it. Hopefully they put a focus on the women's tag division and they have Io and Kairi as a tag team for, quite some time because Rob Goodwin, believe it or not, Io and Kairi are really good wrestlers. Really good wrestlers.
I have heard rumors. It's wild that in that match of the 6 wrestlers, 5 of them have wrestled in Stardom. With only Zoe Stark, I believe, being the one not to wrestle in Stardom, which is wild. Even Isla Dawn, who wrestled as Courtney Stewart, had 6 matches in Stardom. A little bit trivia for you.
Look at you taking over the Io and Kairi watch. Look at that. You Matt Turner.
I did Matt Turner. And actually, as we're on the 5-star Grand Prix circuit, can you tell me, Matt Turner, what year Isla Dawn took part in her one and only 5-star Grand Prix tournament?
I'm going to say 2016.
Spot on. Well done. 2-4 record.
I just figured that probably had to be the year that she was getting main event matches against Io. So, because I think she was Io's V2 or V3. It was very early on in the reign.
So let's move on then. So currently the 5-star Grand Prix standings are as follows. Red Stars A. 3 people tied at the top of Red Stars A. Maika, Hazuki, and Konami, all on 4 points. Maika is the outright leader, though, having not taken a loss yet, 2-0-0. Hazuki and Konami both 2-1-0. Manami then on 3 points, 1-1-1. Natsupoi on 2, 1-1-0. Ruaka on 1 point, her first ever 5-star Grand Prix point, by the way, 0-2-1. Yuna Mizumori propping up Red Stars A, 0-2-0. Red Stars B, even closer, if anything. Mayu Iwatani sits top of the block, 4 points, 2 wins, no losses, no draws. Azumi and Tomoka Inaba and Mei Seira all tied in second place with 4 points, with records of 1, 0, and 2. Iida then on 2 points, 1-1-0. Tam Nakano, 0 points, 0-2-0. Momo Watanabe, 0 points, 0-3-0. 3 back-to-back losses for the Black Peach. Has Mayu Iwatani tomorrow as we record in Korakuen Hall, so that will be really interesting. Blue Stars A, it is really anyone's game. Literally everyone apart from Koguma is on 2 points. Syuri 1-1, Anna J 1-1, Miyu Amasaki 1-0-0, Starlight Kid 1-1, Xena 1-1, Syuri Ano 1-1, and then Koguma obviously 0-1-0. Blue Stars B is really interesting. Sayu Kamatani at the top of the block, 2-0-0 on 4 points. Hanan in second, 1-0-1 with 3 points. Suzu Suzuki the same, 1-0-1 at 3 points. Ronnie Yagami, can't imagine that's going to last, in fourth place, 1-0-0 with 2 points. And then you've got Tekla, Saki Kashima and Risa Seira all on 0 points. Tekla 1-0-1, Saki Kashima and Risa Seira 0-2. Looking ahead to Thursday's Korakuen Hall match, Matt, we have 12 singles matches, all 5-star Grand Prix singles matches. I do think we'll probably get a pre-show tag as well, but the matches are as follows. We'll do Red Stars first. Tam Nakano versus Azumi, Natsupoi versus Ruaka, Maika versus Konami, Mayu Iwatani versus Momo Watanabe, Yuna Mizumori versus Manami, and then Saya Iida versus Tomoka Inaba. Some really, really good matches there. Tomoka Inaba and Saya Iida is going to be fantastic. Tam Nakano and Azumi, really, really good. And then, of course, Mayu Iwatani and Momo, who just don't miss when they are together. What are you looking forward to, Matt, and what are some of your predictions in regards to Red Stars?
Mayu and Momo is the match I'm looking forward to the most. Tomoka and Saya is going to be excellent. I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to this Mike and Konami match. I see Konami trying to cheat, but since Mike is the one that's kind of the person they need to build up the most as far as this hate thing is, that she's kind of suffered the most, especially in Korakuen Hall. We know they love Mike in Korakuen Hall, especially coming off last year's 5-star Grand Prix, coming off that mini tournament that she won to go to the main event of Dream Queendom. We know that the crowd loves Micah. So I can see, obviously that's going to be a great match, but when Konami's going to start building the cheating, I can see Micah just larrying every single thing that Konami does, basically just softballing everything out of Korakuen Hall to eventually defeat Konami. I would not be shocked if, as far as like the biggest pop of the night, is Micah basically blocking all the cheating that Konami's doing, only for Micah to destroy Konami with the Michinoku driver. So that's going to be interesting. And then as far as Blue Stars, Soriano and Starlight Kid, that's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see how Anna Jay can hold up against the striking that is Shuri, because you know that's going to happen. That's going to be really interesting. Rani Yagami and Tekla, that can be a match that's probably going to go about 5 or 6 minutes, but it could be really, really interesting. A lot of great matches. It's Korakuen Hall. Tam and Azumi, my guess, that's going to probably either that or the Mayu Momo match is going to main event. But as far as predictions go, I think Tam and Momo are going to get their first wins of the tournament. And I also, because Tomoka Inaba's got 4 points, and just because she's an outsider, I just don't see her making the quarterfinals, and she needs to start eating some L's. So I would not be shocked to see Saida getting another win here. However, I would not be opposed if that goes to the 15-minute TLD. And of course, Risa Seira, Suzu Suzuki, violence on violence in Korakuen Hall. That's going to be amazing. Again, hopefully Risa Seira is A-okay.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, I fully expect Momo to beat Mayu. I fully expect Tam to beat Azumi. Some really interesting points in Red Stars A. I think Konami beats Maika. I don't see Maika going through the block unscathed, and I do think that Konami will be that tripping up point. I do wonder if Yuna Mizumori picks up a win over Manami as well. In terms of Blue Stars, Tekla beats Rani Yagami to get her win back. Koguma versus Miyu Amasaki could be really interesting. Battle of the roll-ups. Hanan versus Saki Kashima. Sayuri versus Sayori Ano. Sayori versus Anna Jay, Sayori Ano versus Starlight Kid, and then Risa Seira versus Suzu Suzuki, an all-prominence affair. Currently listed on the Stardom website, it is Suzu and Risa Seira to main event. But again, it's all subject to change. There are a couple of matches that have been added to the card because why? 12 matches is far, far, far too few. So we've actually got a 3-way tag match, which is Hazuki and Momo Kogo versus Lady C and Hina versus Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurora. We've then got another 6-woman tag, Xena, Wax Tsukiyama and Mei Seira versus Tora, Saya Kamatani and Rina. So, yeah, it's going to be a packed show, Matt. And if I can just ask you for one further prediction, what is the shortest match on this card? Because there's no way all these matches go 10-plus minutes. Not 14 matches on this card. Who and what are the sacrificial matches? What do you think will be the shortest match? I know you're automatically drawn to Saki Kashima's match, but who else?
Koguma and Miyu Amasaki.
Yeah, I agree.
Roll-ups. Tekla and Rana, you're not going to have any roll-ups, but it's going to be 4 or 5 minutes of bing, bang, boom. See you later.
Wouldn't surprise me, if Natsupoi and Ruaka is a short one.
Yeah, I can see that. As well. That doesn't need to go more than like 6 or 7 minutes. But Mayu and Momo is going to get time. Tam and Azumi is going to get time. Sai and Tomoka, it could get time and it could not. It's going to be really interesting. and Anna Jay. It's not going to go 15 minutes, but at the same time, I think it's going to go more than, I think it'll go like 7 or 8. You know, Anna Jay's not coming over there in Cork and Hall to have a quick match, you know?
No, and I think Sayori Anou and Starlight Kid, Rhys Sarah and Suzu Suzuki are the ones to get time out of Blue Block as well. So, anyway, that finally brings us to an end of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed it. A 4-hour one followed by a 3.5-hour one. You can't tell us we don't give you long episodes, Colin. Yes, specifically you, Colin. This is for you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your support. We really, really, really do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with our reviews of the Korakuen Hall show, as well as the shows from Kyoto on the 17th, Kobe on the 18th, and if we have time, maybe the show from Osaka, Eddie and Arena Osaka on the 20th as well. We are busy, busy bees. In the meantime, thank you so much. You can check us out on the podcast app, whatever podcast app you have. Please make sure to leave a like or a 5-star review and a comment. It really does help the podcast out. Don't forget to check out the website, www.thestardomcast.com for all of your Stardom and Marigold information. You can find us on social media at the Stardomcast. Don't forget to check out our Patreon as well if you haven't already. Patreon.com/the Stardomcast for all of our episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 a month, as well as a whole host of bonus content as well. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely. Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you need from me, Matt Turner OF, on the Instagram and or the Twitter. Email thestardomcast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via the email system. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for another episode. We greatly appreciate your support. Can't do without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. So we're all together. Everyone's different, and everyone's special.